We are live. We are live with a Brofessionals. Yes, yes. We have 5. We are usually 6 strong, but we are 5 tonight. So we're going to try to make up for Graham Nolan. He is in transit from Vegas to wherever the hell he lives.
He lives in upstate New York.
Is he driving or is he flying?
No, he's flying.
Oh, well, he said it was 4 hours. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
He's flying. I always got the impression that he was going to be driving, and I was like, how did he get there so fast? But he flew.
That's what I thought, too. The way he worded it, it sounded like that he was driving. But, yeah, 4 hours doesn't make much sense. Actually, I think it'd be more than a 4-hour. No, I guess Nevada. So it's not too bad. Yeah. So, anyway, you guys, we have 5. So we are going to talk about – we usually talk about our favorite artists, okay, like how they influence us and things like that. But I thought it's still art, it's still artists, but storytellers, people that when we were young and impressionable, that actually when we read the stuff, we were like, this sequence or this moment just stuck with us, like visually, like over the years. And then sometimes, I don't know if you guys are like me when I'm creating stories or whatever, sometimes like even subconsciously, I'll like relive it and I'll try to bring that into my work. And so one of the things that I wanted to do tonight is to see what, not just art, but storytelling, and also storytelling that had impact on us, like personally. So it's not just like, oh, the best storytellers out there, but the storytellers that had impact on us personally in our development and just like also just our tastes. You know, I think this will reflect our tastes in storytelling, you know, things that we like, things that we look for. So, I'm never really sure when we should do our campaign. Should we do our campaigns at the beginning of the show or should we do them at the end?
I say at the end when more people are watching.
Yes.
Okay.
People, we could tell them what to look for. You know, you got the Wraith, you got First Man, you got She, you got Black and White, you got Black Flag.
You got Harrison the King.
Check those out. Power is not out. Yeah, my power's not out, guys. I'm in Huntsville, Alabama right now. We're in the hotel room. This is the lighting situation.
You look like you're in a ground blind, like you're turkey hunting or something down there in Alabama.
We are. We are turkey hunting.
Nice.
My dad had a saying. He said, this is a good saying, guys. If you want to soar with eagles, don't scratch around with turkeys.
Damn, I like the sound of that. I'll drink to that. I'm drinking. No one else drinking tonight?
No, man.
I didn't make a beer run.
I had some sake and some beer. I had sake and beer at dinner time.
Well, we opened this wine. It's Debbie wanted a Bianca cider from this Foligno estate in Pennsylvania we went to last weekend. And so she opened it, but she's in Massachusetts at her friends. And then tomorrow morning she's coming back and we're going to New York City for the Big Apple Con this weekend. So I can't let this wine just sit, even though I don't really drink it, this cider wine.
Nah.
But it's not too shabby.
Nah.
Not
there you go.
Shabby.
For a white wine.
Mm-hmm.
For sissy sauce.
Pretty fly.
Oh, damn. Sissy sauce, he said.
Damn.
He said sissy sauce.
Zinga.
God. Throwing down the gauntlet.
We are the bros.
That hurt from here. Yeah. I can
feel it. I felt that all the way over here.
Kapow!
White wine's okay. White wine's okay if you got pinky strength. You know what I'm saying?
I'm a red wine drinker and a Scotch drinker, so.
Good man. There you go. You made up for it.
Thank you.
One night of weakness, Dan. Just one night.
I had a kombucha last night. Does that count?
Wait a minute.
There's like 2% alcohol in some of them, so yes.
This one was actually less than that. So.
What is it? Kombucha?
How do you have less?
It's fermented tea. You can get it for like no, I mean it's like they make the kombucha so it's legal for kids to drink. There's so little alcohol in them, and so.
Did you never?
Yeah,
drink
my
even back
wife
in
used to make
days?
it.
Well, I'd have a beer every once in a while. I'm kind of a beer a year kind of guy.
Hey, Aaron, can you put your head right near Andy's real quick? Just kind of, yeah. Now, Aaron, punch him in the face.
Oh, no. My wife used to make kombucha. That stuff, it's definitely a craft, man. You got the little SCOBY.
Hey, somebody has to drive, and so Shelly and I, her brother and my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, are moving to Texas, and from here, so they were having like a kind of their going away sort of thing at a local drinking establishment here. So we went up there, and someone has to be safe and drive home, and that's me. And so I had a kombucha, and
watch it now. I hear on New Year's Eve, Aaron might bust out a wine cooler at midnight.
Oh shit, Bartles and James.
Probably
hang
not.
out with his homies Bartles and James.
That's right.
Please tell me your beer a year. Tell me your beer a year is like a Chimay or something really good.
I don't even know what that stuff is. I like
Miller Lite.
No,
man. On his anniversary, he cracks the PBR.
No, he goes for the Colt 45, man.
No, we used to. People probably go nuts with this one, but we used to drink the. When I was down in LA, we would Wednesday night was Corona Corona night at the.
Corona's good.
So
Corona's okay.
Yeah, Corona's fine.
Lime. That's sort of the only beer I ever really drank that much.
If you want a good beer made by the makers of Corona, go for Victoria. That's their top of the line. That's the one they pay attention to.
Okay. Well, when I have my beer this year, I will. I'll look for that.
There are beers that are great.
Get it? You'll love it. You'll have a beer a month. You'll turn in.
He's turned into an alcoholic. But like there are some beers that are just good, like the middle of summer, you're out hanging out at the pool or at the beach or whatever. And then I realized like Corona and Budweiser and Coors are just like really light beer, and you can drink those in the heat. Some of the heavier beers, man, I don't know about you guys, but I just don't feel well.
Well, I mean, guys, to be fair, while all of us drink, I mean, we should tip our hat because Aaron does shoot up heroin quite frequently.
Oh, sure.
With the best.
I mean, it's between his toes, so you can't see the needle marks. But
that black tar
dragon. That's his name. It's Aaron chasing the dragon.
Yep, that's right. You guys got me pegged.
He's got that spoon next to his table with a lighter, so he can do a little crack.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I do have to say, Aaron early on was always the designated driver for the professional show, and I always appreciated that, Aaron.
That's right.
Yes.
So when we're all at a convention and we do our bros live, Aaron, you're going to be our designated driver?
Of course.
Woo! And
you guys appreciate that.
Drag you back to the hotel.
I have a feeling that we will be bad influences upon one another.
Yes,
I really do. I think there's going to be a great deal of one-upsmanship happening.
Yes. I'm quite competitive in that.
Art's going to bring the credit card in the mirror.
No.
You know what, Andy? You know a lot about this stuff for somebody who doesn't partake.
Yeah, I know. He has quite a bit of drug language, doesn't he? I mean, he really knows.
Art Tabaris still has his dollar that he got in Miami.
Nice.
All right. Well, would you guys want to get on with it?
Let's do it.
Yeah,
let's do it.
You can actually go to me after Aaron. I'm actually prepared now with all that foreplay. So
after the foreplay, yeah,
that's right.
All right, Aaron. So, what influenced you coming up the ranks when you were, a fan of comics, reading comics, like just storytelling, situations, scenes, things like that?
Well, I wasn't going to do this in order, but I will go back to when I was the youngest, or I should say when I was at my youngest, when I discovered something that I recognized as, interesting storytelling.
Well, one second. You want me to screen share at this point?
Yeah, go ahead and throw that up there, dude.
Okay.
So Steranko did these 3 issues of Captain America, right? And I probably found these. I had to go back and buy them because I didn't start reading. I buy them as used comics. I didn't start reading comics till like late 1973, and so this was like that was like 1970 maybe, I think. So I had to go back and find these old Cap issues that he did. And one of the things, this panel here with Thor's hand extended with the hammer.
Yeah.
I ripped that panel off, or that sequence off more than once, or that technique of, a hand, pointing or something, and all these characters in the background. And there's something that Stranko did fairly regularly to kind of stretch out a moment in time, right? Where he would have elements in the foreground that would stretch over all the panels, and then he might have some movement in the background that was apart from. This isn't a great example of it. I just threw this one up because I remember ripping this panel off more than once, and it was these comics, Captain America 110, 111, and 113. But like this shot of the mask right here, where you can see on the first page.
That's the one I was going to talk about. That is,
that's.
I've got these original issues. Probably not in the condition that is good enough for you, Mr. Lopresti.
Mine are all near mint, but what can you do?
Okay, mine are not, but I do have the reprints. And those are the ones I look at.
Right, yeah, I've got them in reprints too. But the interesting thing about this is it's not just, I would have an old comic book friend who would say stuff like this is just showing off. But there's some significance to putting Bucky, especially a part of this is Rick Jones trying to live up to the memory of Bucky. And you see he leaves the mask on the table, but then we see him exiting the room through the eye of the mask. And it's sort of like he's coming to he comes to the realization here that he can't do it, or he doesn't believe he can be Bucky Barnes for Cap. And that's what that's kind of the subtext of this whole storyline, is Rick Jones trying to measure up to Bucky and not feeling he can. So that is not just a show-off panel where, the camera's hidden behind the toaster kind of thing. This is actually has some thematic significance to it in doing that. And so I don't think that's showing off. I think that's using your head and coming up with something really clever.
Right. And you know what else? I was thinking, like that second page with Thor, and then it's kind of panning across the panels there. It's almost like after you said the context of it, it's almost like a judgment, like there's a gavel. Judge is kind of like sending it across the page, and then it ends at the Bucky character. So it almost feels like it's judgmental.
Yeah, it's like maybe from, because I think in this point they're kind of, hey buddy, don't worry about it, you'll be fine. But look at his posture and everything. He feels like he doesn't fit in, and you get that hammer of judgment pointing at him. I mean, from Rick's point of view, that is probably exactly what Stranko was going for. But let me posture-wise, though, what's going on with Black Panther in that last panel of the first page? He's got a little. He's looking a little effeminate there. I have to admit.
Stranko really, if you look at his work, because even some of the Captain America double pages when he's leaping into action or have that going on, and Stranko came kind of from that Byrne Hogarth school, and Byrne's figures were a little too floaty sometimes as well.
That's that's taken from a Caesar statue, where his left hand is holding his robe.
Oh, the scroll. He's got a little bit of pep in his step.
And that's I've seen that before, and it's like Augustus Caesar. And
what's interesting is about some of these guys, and some of the other ones probably we'll be talking about, is although Stranko gets a lot of credit for being this great draftsman, his figure work isn't always right on, and his faces aren't always right on. He was more of what he did with light and shadow, and what he did with his layouts and storytelling is what made him really spectacular. And so he had some figure work that you're kind of like going, well, what's going on there? But that's not really. Guy. Yeah, exactly. But let me bring this one up, because I think it's a better example of what I was talking about than the Thor hammer. Hang on one second.
While you're doing it, the thing I loved about that Thor hammer, and then there was the 3 panels below it as well, is, it really is doing it. People look at that and they go, but it's one image with gutters in between, and a lot of people don't realize, because it's comics and there's no movement, that's panning the camera over.
Right.
If you didn't have the gutters, it would just be one image, no movement of pan.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Well, this is a better example of what I think Stranko did a lot of the time, where you have a foreground image that is totally, it stretches across the entire thing, but then you've got this movement in the background where you see Cap leaving the room. So the background stays the same, but Cap is is moving through the image. And that, I think, is a really clever way of, like you're just talking about, panning the camera, creating movement, stretching out a moment in time where otherwise, if you took, and this is no knock on them, but if you took, Romita or Buscema or somebody, they would have done this with Cap maybe at the door looking back in a single panel, right? But Stranko takes this and puts 3 gutters in there, makes it into 4 panels, and then we stretches out this moment of time of Cap leaving the room. And
they might also have done it with 2 panels where one is Cap at the foot of the bed, and then the second panel is a totally different angle,
right,
where Rick is still in the bed and you see him, and then Cap's exiting, But this is just so much more cinematic, and you just get so much more movement out of it.
Yeah, and when I was, 11 years old and got these comics, man, I was ripping this off all the time, and I still will use this type of sequencing in the right moments in a comic I'm drawing because it's, because the Steranko influence has stayed with me that long. So those are a couple moments from when I'm my youngest days that I remember storytelling, just going, wow, this guy's doing something different than what I'm reading in the other books.
I want to ask you guys one thing. That third panel and that crop with the arm there, I've seen stuff like that before. Does that bug you guys? Is that a tangent? Is that working? Where like a figure almost like
I love it.
The border.
Personally, I love it. I don't see it as a tangent because enough of his arm to me is outside the panel border, cropped out.
Yeah,
where it's not a bad tangent, just like in panel 2 where his arm is cropped.
It's pulling away though. There's a succession. Panel 1 he's cropped. Panel 2 less so. Panel 3 less so. Panel 4 free.
Yeah.
Right. And then I was thinking, like the way he cropped in the third panel, Cap becomes more of he becomes kind of the background. He becomes the border. So you don't really see him. It's like a framing device. And then it helps you just see the face that's there in the foreground. So it's deliberately done. I always just wonder about this, if it's just kind of a random thing that happens or if it's, actually thought out. Like that's exactly what he wanted. If
that was the only panel like that, I might think that he probably just drew it too close and was like, what the heck? But
he's got a
point. There's
all I think it's thought out.
He's got a couple of tangents that are driving me crazy though. Number 1, the ball lamp. He put that little circle, and I know it's part of the design element, but it makes it look like you're looking at the top side of the ball when perspective wise you'd be looking at the underside. Yeah. And then on panel 4, also that ball, the way that the S on the right goes right into the molding of the room. And then in panel 4, the bottom of the molding hits that lamp.
Yeah.
But again,
and that's the funny thing. There are those tangents that there's no way he did those on purpose. They're just accidents.
Yeah.
Because that probably wasn't his focus worrying about it,
Right.
Yeah, you're moving so fast trying to make deadlines that, those little things. Like if I ink that, when I ink, I'll just kind of skew it like that lamp tangent. I'd bring the lamp line up and then I'd bring the molding down slightly just to kind of alleviate the tangent.
Well, the circle on that lamp is an incorrect perspective anyway with the rest of the lamp. So it's like it needs to be adjusted a little bit anyway. But like you said, these guys were, working on deadlines. And that's the kind of stuff you do that you don't catch until it's too late. And you're like, I'm not changing it. I can keep moving. So,
but it is a fantastic, like you said, the emotion here, the movement, and this is definitely, like one of my picks is Watchmen. So this is definitely kind of like in that Dave Gibbons Watchmen, where you're breaking things down into moments, into emotional beats. If this was John Malin would go, you can do this all in one panel. But I just don't think it has the emotion. It has the emotional aspect that this has, because this makes it seem like he's really deeply thinking. there's multiple moments. And if he did this all in one, I don't think it'd have the same impact.
Yeah, and I think that this is a guy who's thinking about his storytelling process.
Right.
He's not just presenting images clearly, but he's also thinking about the emotional impact and his storytelling process.
Well, and I think part of it too goes back to I'm trying to remember, and not like this matters specifically at this time frame, but this stuff was written by what's that? These issues were written by Stan Lee, I believe, right?
No, Stranko wrote these.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
I was going to say that also. See, that
Lee
shows how much I remember.
Lee might have dialogued it, but I don't.
Well, no, I was just going to say that whoever wrote these, and now obviously Steranko wrote it, so it obviously makes sense. He could break something up this way, but even still, back then, you were just getting a plot. So you could take a plot and do this. Not saying you can't do it with a full script, because you can change things in a full script to do that, but it's a lot easier when it's a plot style. Yeah. And it's totally up to you.
I had this conversation with Chaikin at a show about, he was talking about storytelling stuff. And basically at the end of the conversation, I said, yeah, but what you're talking about, you can only do is if you write the script yourself. Right. Or, as Andy said, you work in a plot format that's really loose that allows you to go in and mess around like that. But if you get some sort of tight script like we get, normally in today's, mainstream, you don't.
It's almost impossible because they junk up the page. I mean, I shouldn't say junk up. I don't mean it really in a derogatory way, but
they write for trades. Come on.
There's so much on a page that you're like, man, there's already 6 panels on this page. Breaking one panel into something cool like this.
Yep.
There's no room for it. I have a theory about current writers. And I know Michael Bendis is definitely in this category. It's kind of the Alan Moore syndrome, where they want to dictate the visual storytelling, so they write it in such a rigid fashion that the artist doesn't have that much of a creative leeway to do things one way or the other. So then every time you look at a Michael Bendis story, it visually looks like Michael Bendis,
dude, you're no joke on that one, Art. I remember when Alan Moore was writing for Extreme Studios, and his first script came through it was like Bad Rock Violator or something, right? And one full typed page to describe panel 1.
Oh yeah, man. His Swamp Thing stuff. Oh, God. He's talking about the leaves are blowing in an eloquent way, and you're just like, oh my God.
I write like that, I think.
He's like, we're in the upper left corner of an office looking down at a desk. It's a green lamp. There are 4 paper clips in the upper right corner of the desk. Like, he was describing every little bit, and it's like, where's your freedom?
I think Alan Moore he always struck me as like a really frustrated novelist, like he really just wanted to write novels, but comics was paying the bills, because that's
a frustrated wizard.
Yes,
really extraneous. And I was like Stan Walk was one of the early Swamp Thing artists, with Alan Moore. And there was a brief couple years that I was pretty tight with the guy. And he was just like, I wish he'd just give me Marvel style breakdowns. He's going, it takes me a day just to read the script, just to read the plot. And then another day just to try to break it down and assimilate it. And then he goes, it just takes so freaking long. And he said, these are monthly books, and this is just, I'm not getting paid for this, Well,
the first script I did for DC Comics when I left Marvel and went over to DC just before I started Wonder Woman is I got a Legion of Superheroes script from Jim Shooter. And it was a 20-page story, 22, and it was 60-some pages long.
No way.
What? From Shooter?
And I was like, you've got to be out of your freaking mind. So, I mean, I just got to a point where I would read the important information and then break it down the way I wanted to. He apparently was not happy with me, but I was like, come on, man. What are you doing?
Who cares?
Wait, was this after CrossGen?
Oh, yeah. This was after I was at Marvel for a couple years after CrossGen and then went to DC.
That's why I didn't realize you did a Legion written by Shooter.
one issue before I took over Wonder Woman, and I was like, they sent me this script, and I was like, holy crap! It was like a novel, and you got to be kidding me!
Oh wow! Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah. It was annoying, is what it was. It was like, dude, there's another person working on this with you, you know.
What's that, Dan?
I'm in your neck of the woods. I'm just letting Jay Money know that I'm in his neck of the woods. I'm in Huntsville, brother.
Word up.
Oh.
Jay Money, Jay Dollar Sign. I'm in Huntsville right now.
J dollar bill, yo.
Bill.
Look at
these 5 people.
Look at these 5 gorgeous people.
Hell yeah. Well, what do you got for me, Andy?
So I'm going. Don't share the screen yet. I'm going with an issue. Oh no, go ahead and share it. That's fine. I'm going with an issue. It's kind of like Aaron. I mean, this whole issue just had an impact on me visually and storytelling wise as well. And all Frank's Daredevil did, but just this, I guess, penultimate issue where it comes down to the Bullseye and Elektra and his choreography. And just opening the book with a shot like this is just like, that is sucking you into the book, man.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what I miss about classic Marvel over DC splash pages that stands like that splash needs to suck you in.
Yeah.
It's so weird, and I have shitty hotel internet. I don't see the image that is shared. It's
what hotel are you staying at, bro?
For me.
Really? What do you see?
Motel
Nothing
6.
or
Motel 6.
I'm at the Hilton.
Motel 6. They would have left the light on for him.
Oh, there it is. There it is. I see it. Leave the light on. There it is. Yeah, that's good shit.
And I remember as a kid, there were specific instances in this book, like this page, for some reason, I just kept looking at as a kid. And just the lighting he did. And it's one of those things that, like, if you could see into the future when this came out to see what Frank would become with like Sin City and stuff, it's all here. Yeah. He just didn't have it pared down enough to what he did in Sin City.
Yeah.
But
I came close to choosing this, so I'm glad you did pick this. This stuff just changed my way of looking at comics.
Yes.
It also just the story, like layout, like just panel layouts and stuff like that. I mean, that's a 5-panel across, first tier. People weren't really doing too much of that at the time.
No, and Frank really utilized these thin verticals so well. And I mean, I don't know about you guys. Every now and then I'll try and do something like that with the thin verticals, but it's hard sometimes to lay something out in that shape.
Yeah.
Because my mind always either goes to, the movie screen type shape or square, not thin vertical, unless I'm really wanting to show height in the panel.
Right.
Then, going from like the Joe Kubert way of going, well, if you want to show height, thin vertical shows height really well, compression, thin horizontal. And that's what he has. He has that mix of the verticals at the top, but then he has that great 3-panel sequence with the horizontals just zooming in on the eyes. And he's thinking about Daredevil and just the way he popped them in there.
Yeah, the way he used Daredevil in there, that's fantastic.
And Klaus, I believe, colored this one. Let's see.
Probably.
Yeah, Klaus, of course, did the colors, and you can tell.
Klaus is so great.
Oh,
he's so great.
And then, even though Frank didn't develop the multiple image in a panel, he just took it to like.
He does it well.
He just does it so well.
Yeah.
I saw it in comics before this, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Multiple images. Oh, look, Flash running. But that was it, I think. It was usually like, oh, this guy's running or something. But this, it's like, oh, he's training and stuff, and just the flow of how he leads your eye around the page and stuff.
Well, it's really interesting, that page before this, that's not only that guy thinking of Daredevil, but it's a transition panel to this next sequence too. So they got double use out of it, right?
Yeah, totally. Right there, yeah.
And that coloring, the blue right there kind of helps like fade this guy's eyes in the background and Daredevil into the foreground, and then you get that transition over to the scene with Daredevil. So it's pretty awesome.
That's
Yeah,
where
no,
like,
I mean
like,
that.
like comic books now is a little bit too much based in reality. Like this stuff is just done for dramatics. It's just done for storytelling. Like there's no real reason for that blue panel, but you know what I mean. It works emotionally, and then there's like the panel before, like in between. There's a transition. The blue is starting, so it's not that much of like a major jump, but just beautifully colored.
Yeah.
No, but Aaron, I mean, I got to be honest. I always saw the transition because he's on the rings and stuff in that last panel, and then obviously the first panel at the next page. But I never really thought about the whole color part because he's basically colored normal, brighter, yellows and flesh tones. Then it gets a little more subtle purple. Then it's blue, so it really is pushing him back. The close up and Daredevil just leaps right at you.
Yeah,
I mean that's
They're
great.
really utilizing the what's great about comics. That's the thing.
Right.
We have a unique toolbox that is one, and we can.
I'm glad it's not my internet screwing up.
See cinema, but they're unique to comic books.
Well, and the thing too that he does is like
is.
just this first panel right here. I love the simplicity of things like these manacles or whatever around Bullseye's arms.
Yeah,
there's nothing there, but you know what they are.
Mm-hmm.
In black and white, the only thing you get for this wall is the top of it. There's just nothing on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be so hard for me if I drew that exact same panel not to be like, well, I got to put some bricks or something just so people can look at it in black and white and go, oh, it's a brick wall.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, nah, man. And that's Klaus, because Klaus did the finishes. So.
Well, Frank Miller was really sort of, I don't know if I'd call him a minimalist, but he was sort of heading in that direction, don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And
but then I love the juxtaposition of these two pages. You go from him here, manacled up in just his regular, prison garb. And then next page, vertical, I'm Bullseye. He's sitting down for an interview. And this is what wouldn't be in comics. If this comic book was done today, he'd be in his prison garb sitting down for this interview.
Yeah.
And who the hell wants to see that? I want to see Bullseye.
And you didn't even have to justify it, right? It's kind of like he's Bullseye. This is how he dresses, so we just accept it, right?
Right.
I remember a scene in, I think it was, what was that Avengers series that that Bendis was writing and Finch was drawing? It was the New Avengers. The New Avengers.
New Avengers. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a scene where setting up. Some guy is hiring Electro to go in and be this jailbreak, in charge of this jailbreak thing, right? And he's sitting at this table, and he's this bald dude, right? And then he asks the guy, he goes, "Should I wear my costume?" And the guy's like, "Oh, that's up to you." And then the next, there's a big splash of him pulling on his mask, saying "costume." It's kind of like you sit there and go, it's like you talked about being too realistic. It's like the characters now have to justify why they would put their costumes on. Because in real life, no one would walk around with their Bullseye costume on. And it's like, well, this isn't real life. It's like we've got too far into that sort of. Why would you even have to explain that? In the old days, it would have been Electro sitting at that table in costume, and the guy's hiring him to do the job.
Well, that goes back to what I said about what I loved about comics in the 80s and into the 90s as well. But since it was the 80s, 90s, I always say the 80s because I was a kid growing up reading them. And you'd pick up an issue of Avengers, and they're sitting around having coffee or tea that Jarvis brings them, and they're all in their freaking costumes.
Yeah.
And that's what you
Because
want,
that's
man.
what you want to see. As a kid, that's what you want to see.
And these days, that same scene, you'd have Cap wearing a t-shirt and jeans.
Right.
Thor would have his hair in a ponytail, or God forbid, a man bun, and he'd have a jacket on, and you're just like, what? I want to see him sitting around in their fucking costumes watching TV. Damn it!
Exactly.
Well, the thing I always think is funny is when these writers and these creative people like that's not reality, that's not real, that's not how it would really be. It's like superheroes aren't real. This whole universe isn't real. Like,
Right.
what are you even talking about? Like, you're just trying to entertain people. It's like Aaron and I did. We did a Catwoman annual or whatever it was, and Catwoman isn't even in the damn story. It's like
she's not in costume the entire thing.
yeah, and then there's. The best they do is they give you a reflection in a glass window of the shape of things to come. Like, oh, she's going to be Catwoman. Like, who wants to read that?
It was an annual too, so it was like super long, and you're just like,
right. Well, and that's the part where you should have her in costume. Like, if it's the Catwoman monthly book, and you look at it over the span of 12 issues a year. If you look at it as that grouping of 12 issues and you go, you know what, for one issue, let's have her be Selena, no costume. In the bulk of the year, you go, well, that's 1 out of 12. That's not bad. But for a freaking annual, which is a special event book, I don't even want to see Selena in a fucking dress. I just want to see Catwoman on like 36 pages.
Yeah. Yeah. Waited all year for it. What'd you say, Billy?
I said, heck yes. Heck yeah.
So this whole sequence breaking out of jail, I mean, and once again, he wrote this so he didn't have to bend to like, oh, this is what the writer did. How can I do these cool things? So I mean, this issue it's just one that I go back to and I just love looking at when I need to get jazzed up and stuff.
Yeah, well, just the layouts alone and the panels, the panel shapes and stuff, it's very cool. Yeah.
I love, like, to me, this is a cool way to do a city. Whether it's nighttime or daytime, Klaus could have done this. Klaus could have inked this the exact way it's inked, but then been like, oh, it's daytime, and it would still work with his color palette doing it as a day scene and not a night scene. But I just love the indication. This is why I love Joe Kubert, too, because I love the indication in the line work on the buildings. And it's not the, oh, look at all the windows and all the real detail and stuff.
A lot of confidence. You got to be a confident artist.
Well, also, what's great about it is, and I never do this, and I wish I did more of it, is if it is a nighttime scene, so he's got his yellow lighting down there. So all your lighting really is coming. It's not coming from the sun. It's coming from the street lights, right? So you don't have your detail down there. You have it kind of washed out with the yellow, and then you kind of your details up in the shadows up at the top of the buildings, and it looks terrific. And the thing is that we forget, and I think modern comic artists forget, is people spend about a minute on a page when they're reading it. So
my daughter's into trade paperbacks, right? She's really big into Star Wars. So it's interesting to me to watch her read something because, like I said, a 20-page comic, I could spend a half hour on because I'm really looking at the art and whatever. She'll come out of her room like 30 minutes later, and I'm like, oh, what are you taking a break? She goes, no, I'm done. And I'm like, you just read a 6-issue trade paperback? Because she's reading it, and she's spending the time on a panel. Yeah. Like you said, just read the balloon. I think actually the eye focuses on the art in the panel if you're a regular person for less than 30 seconds.
Yeah. Well, they said, like, for true comprehension to read, you have to read relatively quick for the best comprehension. So I would imagine that would work the same in a comic book. So to kind of keep the flow of the story, you can't obsess too much about one single panel. You got to keep moving. So then you get the whole story versus just, one panel.
And that's what's so great about some of these older guys that were doing stuff like this is they weren't getting caught up in the excessive detail of, oh, wow, this is just a fantastic drawing. They were simply telling the story, giving you the information you needed to get you to the next panel, which is also a pretty efficient way to work if you're doing a monthly book.
Sure.
Yeah. I try to remember that, but I always get lost in the details.
I know, so do I.
Well, it's part of the fun.
Look at poor Fraga down there. He really gets lost in detail.
I'm like, I know what you guys are talking about, but I'm all about Michael Golden, and I get
it's hard to do.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I mean, that's why it's really difficult for me because I look at this and I go, oh my God, that's so gorgeous. But then I do look at like Avengers Annual number 10, and I'm like, is it 10 or 12?
It's 10.
It's 10, yeah. And I look at 10, and I'm just like,
10.
oh, look at that big shot of Cap getting punched by Rogue going through that fence and all the debris and goodness, you know?
Yeah.
It's
I always say there's two experiences. I read a comic, and then I go and I pour through a comic.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
And the
Like
thing
this
is,
page.
I remember having a conversation with Dave Finch, and we were having a conversation similar to this. And so we were talking about Frank Miller, and I was like, I really like Frank Miller. He's like, why? And so I was talking to him about like this kind of layout, this story, this, that. And he goes, Frank is not a great artist, Art. And I go, what? He goes, he's a really good storyteller.
Yeah.
What I mean? So there is a difference there. So
He writes with pictures.
He's a great
draftsman. He's not quite, he's not Neil Adams,
Right.
But as a storyteller, he's sensational. So his focus is different. His
Right.
focus isn't like Michael Golden or Dan's Pineapple Perception, which is fantastic, man.
Right.
Thank you.
You know what, Dan? No one's ever going to be able to accuse you of not putting everything you have into that book.
You know what I love about Dan's Pineapple Perception is when I get it on my 60th birthday in 8 years, I'm going to be so freaking excited. It's going to make my 60th birthday. There's nothing my wife can do to top it in 8 years. When I get that.
Right in the fucking heart.
Well, what was that one comedian that he coined a phrase? He said, a compusalt. It's a compliment and an insult at the same time.
It's a huge compliment, man. I can't wait to see the other half of that 2-page spread where you got the big shot of your main man.
It's out. It's on my updates, man.
The whole thing? There. That whole spread?
The whole thing, man. Just go to the campaign. Go to the updates. It's there.
Well, no, I should have got the update. I'm just curious.
Whoa.
When did you send that one out?
Sunday.
Oh, shit. It might have went to my spam then. Yeah, I'll have to go check.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I don't want to dwell on this because we got to get around the horn, but another great.
Let's do it.
Just great stuff. So anyhow, we can move on to the Tooch.
All right. So,
see what Billy's got.
All right. I'm going to share. If you give me a second.
Billy always has unique stuff that I've never seen.
Well, I wanted to be a little different because I agree with everything you guys say. My first thing, my first thought was Kuber. That I was, Kirby, Miller, and like these guys are going to cover all that. So I'm like, why not? Why don't I bring up the greatest storyteller of the 20th century?
Uh-oh.
May not necessarily comics,
but
it's still. But why don't we take a look?
Where is it? Oh, there it is. Oh,
Evel
Knievel? What?
Are we going back to that motorcycle, Billy?
No.
Yeah, we going back to the motorcycle.
Billy wants to tell his motorcycle story.
No, here's the thing. Here's the quote that I will never forget at the beginning of that game show night is Billy going, I mean, I'm not taking this serious or anything. I'm just here to have a good time.
Yeah, well, you guys
it's always that guy too, right?
That's Billy's disclaimer.
Yeah, I really didn't read a lot of comics growing up, So my thing, but I am going to hit though with the person I believe is the greatest storyteller of the 20th century.
This is going to be Ronald Reagan, isn't it?
But if we can, let's hit with, hang on, this one right here. Here you go. Okay, Art, if you could share that.
Okay, this looks legit.
Norman Rockwell.
That's a really good call.
I mean, look at that. Let's give him enough and on time. I mean, and that just shows, you just imagine him. He's on like Wake Island or Saipan or something, this Marine or whatever. And he's just blazing away with that M1917 machine gun like Graham Nolan. And but you just
one of the only times he painted someone with a gun.
Yeah, probably. You're right.
Yeah. I saw this original on a in Balboa Park. They had a Norman Rockwell exhibit,
Yeah.
And that part of the thing is he hated violence and didn't really like painting guns. He said, but this one he made an exception on.
Yeah, the cause is so because you look, he's running out of his belt. You know, he's got all the brass down there. Look at it, how he's torn. He's bandaged up. The desperation, but the determination never to surrender. We're not going to give up. And this sold so many war bonds, and rightfully so. But let me now switch over. But
I have to ask you: is that the actual cropping of the image, like right at his helmet there?
Yes, that's what he did. Yep, that's exactly
really interesting.
Well, I'm not sure. It might be. I'm sure it's more because if you look at his name on the right, I'm sure it's more. I just grabbed one image, but I saw this original painting too. And then I'm going to get to what Dan saw the exhibit. I saw the Norman Rockwell exhibit at the Guggenheim here in New York. A decade ago. But I want to go to another page about the progression of him as a storyteller. And I mean, there's so many famous Norman Rockwell images that we all love and all. But there's some really peculiar ones that I find striking, which are on the same subject matter. So if I may, let me share screen.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it is Ronald Reagan.
Well.
No,
hang on a second here.
Yeah, little handful of.
All right, I think this one's it.
Wait, Dan, you roboted out. Did you say, "Well, I am full of shit"? Is that what you were saying?
No, I said with a handful of jelly beans.
Oh, okay.
Hang on. Yep. Okay, got it. Okay, great. Okay, let's share this one. So now this is an image, if you don't mind sharing that. This is 1919. This is called The Story of the Lost Battalion. And you see this young wounded soldier because he's got his cane. Obviously, he's been wounded. And he's telling the story of how they were surrounded by, these 700 men or so were surrounded by 5,000 Germans, and that they were cut off and they had to fight their way through it and all. And you see, look at the sailor is gripping, his hat, his little sailor cap there. And the kid is enthralled, like, this is what I want to be, this type of heroism. He's got his Medal of Honor right there, you see. And again, that's a powerful, great illustration, right?
The power of it is in the expressions, man.
Yes.
Because the kid looks like no way.
Yeah.
And the storyteller is lost in the moment, and you can tell the sailor is filled with empathy, like, been there, buddy.
Yeah, but you see the bravado going on there, right? And
I'll tell you, the big storytelling element for me is that damn box with the book on top of it. Like, what is that all about? Like, what's in the box?
What's in the box?
So, all right, now now we're going to progress 20 years in Rockwell's career, and he's getting up there. I think he's in his 60s by this time. Wait
a minute, how did Batman get in here?
What?
Oh, it's Harrison.
Oh, it's Harrison.
And then he disappears.
I love it. All right, now
you put the cowl down first, though.
If you can share this one.
Sure.
Now, this is called Homecoming for a Marine. Now, you see the difference here. Here they are in the garage that he probably worked at, or his dad's garage. And here he is. He comes home, and you see he's got a Silver Star ribbon right there, for those of you that know. And look, everyone's around him because they want to hear the story, because you look in the upper right-hand corner, you see the blue star. So that means that's the Blue Star family. That means this is his father's garage. That's his son. And then you have the picture of him, like, local boy does good, local boy becomes hero, right? And then you see him, though, and look at the difference. I wish I can compare the two side by side, but look at the difference between this Marine here and the soldier from 20 years earlier. Look at the pain in the soldier's face. It's not all heroic and heroism, because what World War I did is that they rose up the country, as the country did in World War II, but it was all this patriotism and all of this. Let's kick the Huns out of, out of Europe and blah, blah, blah. And here he is. And you see his hands playing with the flag almost nervously, or like a child would. And you see how he's rearing back a little bit, as opposed to the guy that's in the front in the first 20 years earlier. He's like, this 25 years later, actually. Now you see he's embarrassed almost. He's ashamed of what he's seen. He wishes he never saw it. He'll never be the same. And I just love this this family dynamic of this and how everyone's gathered around him. And it shows us the support. And you see this man right here, the bus driver or the cop or whatever he would be. And you could see, I just see the empathy on his face because like he's seen it too. He might have been that guy in that painting from 25 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I just find things like that because I like to do a lot of panels that have multiple things going on. I love the split panels I do. I follow all the tricks and I'm inspired by all the greats myself. But there's just something about when you could tell an entire story in one panel, like like this. And here's the thing is that, and I think it was Aaron, you said that, or Art, that someone spends a minute on a page when they read it.
Mm-hmm.
Something that we work all day on, only someone spends a minute.
Yeah.
And then turns the page, and you're like, I don't even want to sell that page. I put so much of myself into it.
Man.
I got flat files of work that may not be the greatest, but there's just something so emotional to it that I remember doing it. I remember what happened. I remember how great I felt when I finished this. And it's kind of sad when you think that someone just spends a minute on it, turns a page.
Well, that's why I always hope for like somebody like Dan or Andy, to buy my book and just go, ooh, just like spend like 20 minutes on looking at, a page breakdown or something.
That's what I do, man.
Yeah.
Dude, maybe that's a future Brofessionals. If the Brofessionals break down a page that each other has done, that'd be a fun show.
Yeah,
that's a series. That would be a series.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though, about Rockwell, too, is that we saw I don't know if you guys have seen his paintings live or if you've seen any of his exhibits. But the amazing thing is I went twice. And the first time I went, I was just in awe and drinking in all of his paints of how thick his whites are. Now, if you look at that man on the right, his white shirt, it's like it looks like it's 1/8 of an inch of thick white, oil just slapped on that. And then the second time I went, and I wanted to look at everything again and really get. But what I noticed the second time I went was the actual people looking at Norman Rockwell's paintings and seeing the expressions on their faces, from the joy of the kid with the puppy, to a page like this. We're like, wow, that's this poor guy, this poor kid. Look what did he have to see to earn that medal, to earn that silver star and that purple heart he's wearing? Because when you get a purple heart, you're wounded. Being wounded that means you're never the same for the rest of your life, whether it's physically, mentally, or whatever. And then the image of the little black girl walking to the school in Selma, Alabama, and profanities painted on the walls behind her, and the 4 big Secret Service agents walking next to her, and she's got this beautiful white dress on, this symbol of innocence, the epitome of innocence and good. And then you see a tomato splattered right by her face that someone threw at her, and you just see the emotion that it evokes in the reader and the people watching it. And that's what really convinced me personally, in my humble opinion, is that I firmly believe that Norman Rockwell is the greatest storyteller of the 20th century.
He can do all of that with one single image. Yeah.
One image.
Yeah,
and that's a gift, and that's a gift to all of us that we got to see something like this.
Yeah,
that's something that often gets overlooked. And I guess we're just talking about comics. I mean, this guy's like I know I didn't know when I talked to until I just logged on. Then I saw the bros the thread that it was comic panels. I thought you could, and then you did mention film art last night, so I'm like, oh, what do I, I was trying to think of something different. No, I don't mean that critically. Well, the point I was trying to make was that simply to put that much thought into a single illustration, I mean, that's what you used to have to do, right?
Yeah.
Because if you illustrated something for a magazine, which most of these were, right, you had like a story or something that you're illustrating in one single page, and so you have to tell the entire story or get the emotion of the story, much like a movie poster. A good movie poster used to be, that you're trying to sell the story to the reader on that single image, that you look at that and you can see all that emotion in there and you're like, I got to find out this kid's story,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And not unlike that Frank Miller splash page.
Yeah.
With Daredevil getting shot in the head. Oh my God, I got to see this.
Right.
It brings
and the thing is, to your point, Aaron, that comic book covers used to be like that.
Yes.
They used to try to tell a story with a cover. Everything's kind of pin-up-y now,
Right.
you know, but before it really was try to captivate and to try to suck you in with something like Daredevil gets shot in the head or whatever it is. Those used to be like storytelling covers, emotion, just something to suck you in. And now, I mean, we all fall victim of it. It's
Right.
contemporary comics, but it's more pin-up-y type stuff.
Well,
know?
it's more, you got the artists are more focused on technique. Look how nice I draw. Look how well I executed this image. Look how beautiful this is. And they neglect the storytelling element just because they want to do something that just looks incredibly fantastically rendered or executed. And you're like, okay, that's a great illustration, but what is it saying? What does it mean? What is it telling me? And oftentimes nothing is the answer. It's just a really beautiful piece of artwork that doesn't say.
It's Forrest Vallejo versus Frank Miller. I mean, Frank Frazetta.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So what do you have, Dan?
On the top.
Fraga's got like his Marlon Brando Apocalypse Now look going.
I think you froze.
Okay. So
There
this.
you
Oh,
Can you hear me though?
yes.
Yeah.
This is from April 1955, EC comic, a story titled "The Master Race" by Bernie Krigstein.
Oh my
And this sort of storytelling, like this guy falling, was lifted by our great example of Frank Miller. Frank Miller, a lot of times people cite Will Eisner as his major influence. Bernard Krigstein was another one, and he kind of goes unsung. I have to say, I didn't just know this. Larry Hama, who's another guy I'll probably end up bringing up if no one else does, turned me on to Krigstein a few years back. And I ended up buying a bunch of books on the guy. The guy really gave a shit, you know, and you can tell. This is from the 50s, you know, almost 30 years before Daredevil. This sort of taking a moment and really breaking it down versus like the old comics, the quick instant get. Oh, that guy fell, you know, one panel of him falling.
I've never even heard of this or him.
Have you ever seen this story? Oh my God. This story
It's called
is...
The Master Race. Just look up Master Race Krigstein, Krigstein.
Beautiful story.
Yeah, it's you know, like the chat says, this is a master class in storytelling in just this single story. But he did a bunch of stuff, and he left comics. He did a bunch of painting afterwards. You know, really, really great painter and everything. But this is, you know, the roots. One of the things, and Graham sent me on this mission too. He's not here for me to kiss up to him, but I really, ever since I started watching Storytellers and seeing some of the sources of things, finding out that, you know, Roy Crane was sort of the inventor of comics vocabulary, I wanted to take guys that I really like, because Frank Miller's top of my list of great storytellers. I wanted to see what is he made out of. And it turns out Krigstein and Eisner. So my vote is for Krigstein. I only have this one example. If you guys want to look him up, Chad, you want to look him up, check him out. But this again, this is from April of 1955.
So
My God, this
I
is
just
so
bought it.
freaking good. This looks
It's
contemporary.
a silent story too, isn't it? If I remember right.
Silent?
Yeah, there's no word balloons in it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dude, was this in
so
shock
good.
suspense or something?
What's that?
Was this in
I don't
shock
know. I've
suspense
got like
version?
I have several reprints of this. Let me look it up. Master Race Krigstein.
I have
EC Comics.
Yep, 21.
Yeah.
Impact number one. Impact number one. That was one of their like.
I'm just trying to think what the reprint is I have of it.
Yeah.
I just bought it. So
Covered by Jack.
Yeah, my internet's so slow, guys. But
No, it's
yeah,
Impact
so here you
number
go.
one.
This is if you want to look at. There you go. So there's some word balloons. There are some word balloons.
Oh, there is. Okay.
Yeah, my internet's running crazy slow. But
well, if you want,
I'll
pop the link in the
this.
private chat, and one of us can pull it up.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
There you go. It's done. It's done.
All right, I'll
but that's my guy, Bernie Krigstein.
It's a great example.
Wow. I mean, you just
our butt, Dan.
blew me
I knew
away
we were
with
going to do this, but holy crap, that is so killer. And you know what? Everything that I was thinking back on that influenced me had to have come from that guy. You know,
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm going to go once Andy pulls up more of that artwork.
Yeah, it's only like 8 pages, so we can just buzz through it.
Okay. Well, before I give away who my next choice is, let's look at this. Wow.
So yeah, it starts off a little heavier and stuff. It's a
don't ruin it.
It's a good story. Yeah, I won't ruin it. Just look at the visuals. It's yeah, that's right. There is lots of dialogue. It's a good story.
DC was always very caption heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They would describe exactly what was already visually in the panel. And you're just like, I just spent 5 minutes reading this caption and I couldn't see exactly, like they'll say, so-and-so sat in the train with 2 men behind him. And you're like, okay, I can see that. You don't need to tell me, but they
I have a theory. I have a theory for that. I think it comes from radio shows. Like radio show storytelling was that way. So it feels the same way, you know, like the heavy narrative and stuff like that, describing basically a visual. I think it's a holdover from radio.
You might be right.
Yeah, because all the golden age is like that.
Yeah.
As he charged the machine gun nest and threw a grenade in, and you see the guy just throwing a grenade in. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
We actually used that in Sergeant Rock, the Lost Battalion, because we wanted to have that golden age feel. And even early Kanigher did that too a lot. Bob Kanigher did that in his writing.
You know what's interesting also about this? If you look at what he's doing here, that this is pretty much straightforward. I mean, there's some interesting things going on here, but I mean, in terms of panel layouts and things like that. But then you get to that last sequence where he falls off the tracks, and it's like he totally does something different to sort of stretch out that moment in time to really make it more impactful. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. It breaks the formula of the layout.
Right.
In 1955.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
I remember
thing.
seeing this in the Kubert school. And and that one page that you showed, Dan, that page just stuck with me when I saw it in the Kubert school in whatever reprint it was.
I mean, he started.
There's some graphic stuff. I mean, think of it that, like, graphically. Again, you know, one of the things that's like super impressive is that this stuff is ahead of its time. We can look at it now, and that's why I keep repeating 1955, guys. Like, if you look at everything else from 55, there's a lot of proscenium shit, a lot of close-ups.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this stuff was super graphic, broke up moments in time.
Look at this panel in the left-hand bottom corner. How Gil Kane is that? Or look at that.
Yeah.
Isn't that like a Gil Kane shot? You're kind of thinking, well, maybe Gil got some of his from this, you know, Krigstein as well. That's pretty amazing.
Very inspiring, the Brofessionals, I got to tell you.
Yeah.
And then
you always learn something. Yeah, then you got the sequence at the end where he really stretches out that moment in time.
Yeah, you have to read it. It's a really nice little story. So
I can't wait.
Killer. Yeah, it looks fantastic. And my choice, my pick goes right into this. Like, I think these guys are from the same school, so there is some continuity going on here. So what Andy had Frank Miller, and then Dan brought in, was it named Kriegel?
Krigstein.
Krigstein. You got some Mazzucchelli here.
Krigstein.
Yeah. Oh, Mazzucchelli, yeah, bro. Jeez.
Oh yeah, Mazzucchelli, man.
Is he like the perfect match for Frank Miller?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like if Miller's not drawing
100%.
Get.
Yeah, but the thing is, like when I saw, Andy's and then Dan's contribution, I was like, this goes right into it. It's almost like the history of this type of storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I don't know. I just remember, like just when you're a fan and you're reading this stuff and just the impact that it had. And for me, it was very human. It was like, it was relatable. Like these characters felt real. This is the first time I think I read a comic book, like it was Born Again. It was the Daredevil Born Again series, that it didn't feel, for the lack of a better term, comic booky. It felt real, like these characters were like relatable, like in the real world. And I don't mean that in the worst of ways, like, oh, it's very realistic. It still was very, like dramatic and overdone, but it just felt like rooted. The characters felt real. And I just thought they did such a great job with it. And like I said, after seeing, Andy's, Frank Miller stuff, and then seeing Dan's, you really see where Mazzucchelli was coming from. Like, this is the natural evolution of all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and Miller wanted to do a crime comic. He really didn't want to do a superhero comic. And so this became more of a crime comic, which then you want it more rooted in realism, because it's not really a superhero book as much as it is underworld crime story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but look at this. I mean, some of these shots have been like the saved with the, Matt Murdock looking over, been done, to death after this. So these things are very influential. Just like with Frank, like these horizontal panels, really skinny, and just how they kind of build, and I loved what I took from this is the way they would cut between scenes, and also the color would help explain like that they're not the same location. So we're going Kingpin at a board meeting, and then you have Matt Murdock, punching the heavy bag, and then you have the payoff, on the next page, which is he snapped the chain, because of all the angst and all the frustration is Kingpin. You know what I mean? Like this all works, and then oh my gosh, it's a shot of
I have to say, if the sound effects are correct, this is Matt Murdock fapping one out.
It is.
There's a lot of fapping going on.
Well, it is a big phallic thing between his legs on that splash page. So
yeah, what breaks my heart is you can see these are right from the original scans, and some of us are old enough to remember that the printers would actually take a knife and cut off the corner of the page. So if you look at the tops of these pages, they're the opposites, but that's a knife that cut the top of these pages off.
Now, what did they do that for?
Because they just didn't want to take the time to pull it off nicely. So they just kind of strapped them in real quick. There was a strap that went across the corner. And so they just clip it in, and then they would just cut the board, and then they just pull the page off. When they took
I didn't know that.
When they would take the photo for the negative for the printing.
Oh.
Yeah, it's bullshit. I gotta come.
What's cool about that splash page? I never really noticed until black and white, and I have that artist edition. He didn't draw the shadow of the window pane lines on Matt Murdock, and I think it's Mazzucchelli. It had to be intentional, and when you look at it at this thumbnail size, the small size, at least that's how it is on my screen. It really does frame up Murdock and pop him out even more because the lines aren't on him. At least that's how I see it.
Well, you see a lot of examples. There's a great example in what was that Tom Cruise movie where he was a college student and he got messed up with the hooker and
Risky Business?
Risky Business, right.
Risky Business.
There's a shot in that where it's inside the car. Over the driver's shoulder. He's parked in the driveway, and they're panning over the shoulder, and there's some people walking in front of the car, and they're following him along. Well, they removed the rear view mirror because it got in the way of the shot. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So sometimes you make artistic liberties and say, yeah, okay, this shadow would be across him, but he's going to be more effective if I don't
Right.
With the
Yeah,
shadows.
I love that stuff. I love hearing all the behind the scenes stuff with Ridley Scott. And there's this oh my gosh, there's like 5 or 6 discs for Blade Runner. And then, like the art director and these different people saying, yeah, but why is this doing this? Like, why is this light over here? What is this reflection? All this stuff. And then, Ridley Scott just said, don't worry about it, man. It looks cool. Like, don't worry about it. It doesn't have to be reality.
Yeah.
It just has to look, interesting.
Absolutely. I love this sequence, man.
Oh, dude, I dig this sequence.
Can
I'm
you
going to read it.
Can you read this, Andy? Just the second panel and the third panel.
Let me scroll.
There you go.
See it?
Yeah.
What, the dialogue?
Yeah, from Cap's dialogue to the dialogue balloon, and then the caption box, and then the one in the next panel with Thor. All right, hold on. Put those fires out.
No, I got it. Put those fires out. We don't want a gas main going up. A soldier with a voice that could command a god, and does.
Right?
Yo, the fact that whoever lettered that is a genius. Look at how there's a difference.
Oh yeah, the font
in font
that he used. Yeah,
fancy.
I love that.
I had the funny thing is, like, this is where I love stuff like this, and it's what I mean is like that last panel of Thor. It's just a cool ass silhouette, and you really get how like emotional it is, and like it's really stormy and everything. But if I saw that in a script, my first thought would be, oh, I want to draw this kick-ass looking shot of Thor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the stuff I like to do, So I'd be like, oh, he's going to look badass when I'm done with this.
Yeah.
But that is so freaking cool.
So better. So much better. So
because
what a cover that would be.
Yeah, it's kind of more clever. And I think the reason I like this is it's very superhero, but not in a traditional like superhero in your face way. You know what I mean? Like when I read this sequence, a voice that could command a god, ... and does. Suddenly it's rained so hard it hurts. Everybody who can falls silent. And do you remember the next page?
No.
They hear the hum, and then it's Iron Man. You just see his it's from like his eye point of view, and you see his hands with the repulsor rays aimed at the guy. And then it says something like the power that could holding the power that could basically power all of Manhattan or something like that. It basically describes like Iron Man is this like really powerful dude. And all it would take is for Cap to say, blast him. You know what I mean? And so he just kind of basically holding a gun to the villain's head, just waiting for Cap's orders. And oh my gosh, I'll tell you, when I read this as a kid, I was like, holy shit balls. This is great stuff. Yeah, it's emotional, it's powerful, it's heroic, it's all those things. And it's all from this guy's point of view, like the reporter, Urich.
Yeah, I think
Ulrich, right?
Ulrich, Ben Ulrich.
Is it
Ben? Yeah.
No, it's Ben Urich.
Urich, okay, sorry.
It is Urich, okay.
Yeah. So and then these shots right here, you guys have seen these.
Oh yeah.
His every issue.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, every artist, that was raised on this stuff went, I got to do my down shot like this.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's just a bunch of them. Like there's just, it's like Jim Lee.
I was just saying Wildcats, right?
Oh,
yeah.
So Frank Miller ripped off that first page of Wildcats #1? and
Exactly.
Sin City ripped off Deathstroke too, right?
Next thing you know, Deathstroke. There's just, but also look at the craftsmanship. Look at these wrinkles and folds in the
I never noticed
a lot of care.
I never noticed a woman's feet sticking out of the lower left-hand corner of that sheet.
What?
Frank is like, where?
What?
Is he getting a Jimmy?
That's what I thought. I'm like, wait a second.
Wait, that's not her head poking up on the sheet? Oh, it's his knee.
That's
that dude is sporting some big morning wood. Holy crap.
What you gotta do is draw just two little legs sticking, right?
And here we go.
Yeah.
And it wasn't me this time.
Yeah, so I don't want to spend
look at
too much time. I mean, obviously, David Mazzucchelli, Frank Miller, this combo just changed my perception of comics. And so this is Batman Year One,
right?
The 4 issues that this is up there in my top 2 or 3 books of all time. And I just like the humanity, where Gordon gets taken down, and then you see this weird guy on this bicycle, he's riding up, he jumps off the bridge, he just dives right down, and then he grabs the kid, like the baby. I think this is Gordon's kid that was just born. And I think so, yeah. What's that?
I think so.
Yeah.
If I remember right.
And so, this is the page before it. So this is Bruce Wayne getting on the bike. Gordon's doing his best to take this guy down because he kidnapped Gordon's kid. And so then this guy, you think he's down, but then the kid, he throws him off. And then this is the conclusion here where, and they kind of did this, Chris Nolan and his movies were pulling heavily from Year One. And so, yeah, this is great because this is Bruce face to face with Gordon. Gordon's got his kid now, and he can't see him because the glasses are broken. So he can't tell who this Good Samaritan is. And look at his wife. Look at her, like, oh my gosh, this is so freaking
pure
good.
shock.
Great. Well done,
Admiral.
That's great.
That's a good choice, Admiral Wackass. I'll take one of those ghost peppers off you, brother. Just hit me up. Admiral Wackass in the chat says he has some extra ghost peppers. He said, anyone want any ghost peppers? I harvested like 12 too many for me and my friends. I'll ship them to you. I'll take some.
What's a ghost pepper, bro?
Oh, wait.
It's a really hot pepper.
Oof, yeah.
They're hot. They're good,
It's up there on that. What's that scale called?
Scoville.
I think they're the hottest pepper, aren't they?
No, you're talking about a Carolina Reaper, but there's some that are even hotter. There's man-made peppers now that are they're pushing God's limits.
This is
God would be like, nope, I'm out.
My P.O. box is Wackass. My P.O. box is on my page, and if you want, reach out to me, danfrega@mac.com. But I'll get you the address. Nah, man, what you do is you take that ghost pepper. You don't just chew it up. You dice it up. You put it in a dish. I stir fry a lot, so I would
stir fry.
Yeah, I would chop that up and pop a little bit into the stir fry.
So you guys heard it here. Batman likes stir fry.
Stir fry.
Yeah.
So is ghost pepper the one that's hot enough where you should wear gloves while you're handling it?
Probably.
Yeah, because I know Dennis is really into
you have
hot
to wear
stuff
goggles.
like that. Yeah. Well, you wear gloves
gloves
not 'cause
and
it burns your
goggles.
skin, but if you accidentally touch your eyes, you're oof.
Yeah, eye protection.
You're done.
All right, Aaron, what do you got for us?
Well, probably the
Oh,
greatest
yes.
storyteller.
Damn it! I was thinking about doing Walt's Thor.
This was sort of, I was aware of Simonson because I had picked up his heavy metal Aliens adaptation, and had seen a few things here and there, but didn't really get him. I wasn't really into it at that point. And then I saw this. Now this is the second issue. This is Thor 338, but this is a more interesting opening. But the 337 has a similar opening where you have this sort of godlike being with the hammer is forging something, right? And this is a story that's sort of going on behind the scenes that they're building up to that has that's secondary to the initial Beta Ray Bill Thor storyline. But the interesting thing is he was a guy that I always felt like sort of brought sophistication to a Kirby dynamic, right?
Yeah.
And so where Kirby was just sort of in your face, Walter's in your face, but he does it with some thought behind it, a little bit more thought than just getting in your face. And this is a great sequence because this is interesting because it opens the book, right? And there's a similar one to this in 337, his first issue, where the story opens in a multi-panel sequence, and yet it's not a splash page, but yet you look at that and go, holy crap, what is going on? You just got to turn the page, right? I mean, you're like, what in the world is going on? This looks cool. And it's very similar in the 337. I just thought this was a better page for a multi-panel storytelling sequence, but it starts the same way in 337. So you'd think with Beta Ray, you got that great Beta Ray Bill cover where he's wrecking the logo on the cover, and you open up, and the first thing you see is this sort of abstract multi-panel sequence of some cosmic dude doing something pretty heavy, but we don't know what.
Right.
It's a really good example of how to draw somebody in with a panel sequence that maybe it isn't a splash page, but yet it's just as intriguing because of the mystery and yet the dynamics that are going on in that page. Mm-hmm. Now let me bring up the other thing I have, which is, now this is the last page to now let me get it here. All right, Art, go ahead and bring that up. This is the last page to 337. And you want to talk about a freaking awesome use of a splash page? This has so much emotional impact to it. Because if you remember the story, Beta Ray Bill faces off with Thor near the end of this issue, and then ends up is able to pick up his hammer, and then Beta Ray Bill becomes Thor, right? And he doesn't even really know what's going on. And he flies off to Asgard and leaves Don Blake there. Holy crap, someone just took my hammer. Someone is as worthy as I am. And he's just like, he's lost everything, right? He's lost everything. And he's up there crying out to Odin, you know? And it's like, what an amazing cliffhanger ending. Just a tremendous shot. Again, this is not so much about the craftsmanship of the drawing as it is about the emotional impact and the dynamics involved in portraying this singular image. And I just think I will never forget this splash page. When I got to that last page and turned it over and went, holy crap, you want to talk about waiting forever for 30 days to see how this thing, the next, what happens after this. What a way to end an issue, and what a great image to end it on.
But I think that art, unlike, say, Miller, I mean, how much more do you want? Better do you want? Could you get? Mm-hmm. I mean, just look at that. It's just so, it's so alive and organic. It's everything. It's a perfect splash page. Yeah, it really is, because the emotional content is there, the dynamics are there, and there's enough rendering there that you can say, hey, there's some detail going on here as well. And of course, Simonson is so stylized that he has that sort of, his art is just attractive based on how cool the stylization is of how he does his characters and stuff, right? Because it's so unique looking that this is just a great, great splash page. And it doesn't even have a superhero on it in your face, but yet it's all those elements I just talked about are so well executed. And within the context of the story, what an amazing cliffhanger. Yeah. It's just, what a great issue for 337.
It's like the Daredevil stuff too, where it's also just the perfect marriage of, Walt's art, the lettering works so great, Workman's lettering, and then the color. I mean, this is flat color, but look at that.
I know.
I have to ask you, Aaron, like why are the two narrative boxes different colors? So the one you barely see, it's white on the left-hand side, but the other one's yellow. I can't read it. It's too small.
That's a good question.
I would, I don't know that I would have made that choice because the caption does get a little lost there. So I'm curious. I'm sure that Walter had some reasoning, or Workman did, and they had. I'm sure they wanted a differentiation between. Obviously, father is such a huge line. That's why it's in red, and it's so big. It's part of.
Yeah, but when you read those captions, I can read them. They go together. Maybe it was a coloring mistake and it was supposed to be yellow.
Okay,
but
so
no, because I would think
of the same thought.
It is, but I can't see it being a coloring mistake because Workman left the board open.
Yeah, he left it open, so that's why.
So, you know what though? I gotta say this in all honesty, that there's a lot of times I try stuff that I think might work and might be cool, and then when you get it done and it comes out in print, you're like, I shouldn't have made that choice. And this could have been just one of those things where they thought, this might look really cool if I did this. And then you kind of look at it and go, it kind of gets lost in the, and maybe they didn't expect this to be white. I don't know who colored this.
I think it's like Billy and Andy said, where it's because it's cropped out, like there isn't a sight on it, so it goes right to the border. That they kept it white.
Could have had a nice fade of yellow from the right hand side going to the white.
Yeah, or you could have chosen to color this wreckage a little differently too, a little darker, and it would have stood out.
Yeah,
right.
Rather than having white on white. That's an interesting question. I guess next time I talk to Walter, I'll ask him if he remembers.
Well, why did you do this?
Why don't they?
It's genius. So this is great. And as soon as it came up, I was like, oh crap, I remember this page.
Yeah, I mean I don't remember. I honestly don't remember any panels or pages in this, except maybe the first time we see Beta Ray Bill. I remember that page, but I don't remember anything else from this book. But I never will forget this last page because it just had so much impact.
We have a question from Danky Frankie. So when did colors stop being flat? I think for me, I think it was probably the early 90s, and it was still pre-digital. There was no, a digital coloring or computer coloring, but they started playing with more of like variations in tones and like airbrush type techniques and stuff. And I'm not really sure how they did them. I know that Joe Rosas, is that how you say his name?
Yeah, Joe Rosas.
That we were working on. He was kind of experimenting with those ideas. So I would say officially is when digital came in, but I'm sure it happened before that.
Well,
I mean, there was the time in the 80s where they did the blue line color, where the colors would literally paint on a blue line printout that was done on Bristol. And then the black line art was on acetate over top.
That was special stuff, though. That wasn't
right. That was special.
Dark Knight was on like that.
I think it was early 90s.
Yeah, well, I can actually bear witness to this because I was doing What The for Marvel around 90, maybe 90, 91, and I actually did a Forbish Man story that I wrote pencil ink the whole thing, and it was a Star Trek parody. And I actually asked Renee Witterstatter, who was the editor, I said, I want to color this too. So I did it the old fashioned way, where you'd had your little color guides, your printer's guide, right? And so every color you put in, you had to draw a line to it with whatever the color designation number was. And it was a pain in the butt. That's why I never would color again, but that was flat color. And I would do some shading, but it would just be like, say, I'd take a flesh tone and then I'd take a slightly darker flesh tone to do the shading, but it wasn't blended, right? Mm-hmm. And then I went over to Malibu. I left right after that to Malibu, and they were doing the computer coloring. So I'm wondering if that started with the Image books and Malibu carried it on to their books, and then that became sort of an industry standard after Image. I mean, I don't know, maybe Fraga can
Steve Oliff was one of the pioneers of like the digital color. So I remember
Akira,
the epic books.
That was 88.
Yeah. So it was probably late 80s, but I think it was probably pretty prevalent by, mid to late 90s. I would say like digital coloring, things like that.
Right. Because
92 in 92 you had Digital Chameleon led by Laverne Kandersky. Yeah. You also had Clydeen Nee had a color house.
Yeah.
Sometimes they did separations based, from guides. And then Rob was the first guy to bring it in-house. He formed Extreme Color with Jason Irwin, brought in guys like Andre Kromoff and Don Skinner and Andy Troy, got Oliff's guy, Kiko Taganashi, to come down, who was coloring on just the craziest machine called a Cod Barrett. And by that time, it was off to the races. Brian Haberlin was doing stuff for Top Cow. You had, Wildstorm kind of swallowed up everything that Clydeen was doing, and they were off to the races. So you had Wildstorm color. You had Brian Haberlin's people. You had Rob's people doing his stuff. You had Laverne doing books like Lobo. You know, the first Lobos were done by Laverne and done with that computer stuff. But it was early 90s. 92 was really like the set off.
Yeah, I think that comics were kind of starting to get more technical with the coloring before that, because I even remember doing some things like that in Adventures of Superman when I was working on that. So there was redlining where you would draw a red line and then that would drop out in the
Knock them out.
So you could have color on color without a black holding line, and then there were overlays that you could do as well. So you could like do complete like color. So like a if it was a computer screen, you could do that in a full blue.
Mhm.
So in those old comics, you'd see just something printed in blue or in a complete color. That's how we did it, and you had to do that separate. So you did that on an overlay, and then it was printed when it was brought together. They would print them in one, and so then it would seem like they were all done at the same time, but they weren't. So yeah, there was a lot of experimentation with coloring prior to digital, but once digital came out, I mean, it changed everything. And I do think on some level that the industry has to, give praise to Image Comics, because Image completely pioneered that. I mean, that is pretty much Image Comics, because even like Jim Lee's first Wildcats was still that Joe Rosas. It wasn't digital. Yeah. Was Rob's first book digital, Dan?
It was separated by Laverne. It had Brian Murray color guides, and Digital Chameleon did all the separations.
That's right, Digital Chameleon. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's some fun stuff. So Andy, are you next?
I am next.
All right.
Baby.
Oh my gosh.
This is still a book that I have reprints of. I've got 2 of the originals. One of them is CGC graded. The other one is just so garbage it's not worth anything. And I just remember seeing this as a kid, a reprint that I bought as a kid, and seeing this splash page going, dude, he's about to fly right into my face. And it wasn't, it was just one of those things where subconsciously, now that I know what I'm doing, and once I got into the business, I realized it. But back then, just the way he led your eye around the page with, Green Lantern flying in here and the angles of the people on the sidewalk, bringing you down to the second panel where Green Lantern's here. You get the movement of this dude pushing this dude, the strong black on the back of his suit to really act as a barrier. And you kind of drop down to here, giving you the feeling of him falling on his ass. And then you're led up off the page as Green Lantern lifts this guy up, and your eye almost feels the movement of that dude going off the panel. And he just does it on every page. And this was before I discovered Joe Kubert, when I saw this as a kid. And I was just blown away by the panel compositions and the movement he would have in the flow, let alone the art itself. And, talking about like that Krigstein story that was done in 55 that looked very modern for its time. I mean, I still say you could take this book that came out in 1970, 51 years ago, and it holds up.
Yeah.
Art-wise, storytelling-wise, everything. It just holds up.
Well, what's interesting here about Neil is you look at this entire page, there's not any backgrounds on here at all. He's putting all of his money into his figure work and his faces, and then moving on to the next page, because
you have to, right?
Yeah, when it's drawn that well, you don't have to. I mean, I would have personally, you'd like to see a little background in a couple of those panels just for reference, but I mean, I understand again the deadline situation, and he put all of his time and effort into his figure work, and it's just spectacular, and the faces are spectacular. And the other thing I'll throw in real quickly is that one thing Neil did I thought was really terrific that I didn't really understand until later was, you look at more modern comics, and we'll say the modern era started with Jim Lee's X-Men #1, right, for example. And panels became, it wasn't necessarily what was going on in the panels, but it was the panel structure that kind of became the show, right? But Neil he would use basic panel layouts a lot of times, but it was what the angles he chose within those panels that made the panels special, right? And made them really super interesting. So it wasn't necessarily this crazy layout as much as it was the crazy stuff he was doing within the panel and doing camera shots that are so hard to draw. You have to be super talented to pull them off. And of course he was and did.
Well, I have to say this again. Okay. That guy's arm in that first panel is tangenting that border. And Neil, that third panel, Green Lantern's arm, that I need to know, like, why and how. Like,
it's the secret of greatness. Until we do it, we won't know.
I'm with you. In the first panel, that thumb hitting the panel border is crazy. The guy's arm, at least it's not, But I mean, like the third panel, you're like, so you pop his head out of the top of the panel, but you don't pop his elbow off the right side of the panel.
Right.
And you're
I
just
remember Howard Chaykin told me this. He said, if you're going to break a panel, he said, break the MF in panel. So you don't play around at it. You actually commit. So it can work actually the opposite too. So if you don't break the panel, but you have to make that arm or that object, whatever it is, go far enough in the panel that it doesn't seem like it's tangenting.
Right. You want to have enough air around it.
Look at you guys. You guys both know the answer to this question that you're bringing up, right?
I know.
This is just, I'm cranking this crap out. The deadline is on, and it just so happens that Neil Adams is such a freaking awesome artist that he can draw this figure work and crank it out. But he's not paying attention to that crap. He's getting the page done and getting it onto the next page. He just happens to be extremely talented draftsman and illustrator.
Now, do you think on this page with no backgrounds? Do you think on this page with no backgrounds, it wasn't necessarily the fact of him going, I got to get this done because, deadline, blah, blah, blah. But maybe it was, I want the reader to really buzz through the page faster and not slow the eye down.
Or look at a lot of times when you have that sort of complicated movement going on, you start putting backgrounds in there and some of those speed lines, all that kind of stuff gets lost. So again, you can sit and justify it and say, I don't want to mess up the action, so therefore I'm not putting in the background because the background's not necessary to the action. I would simply argue that putting in a panel or two with some background just so you don't lose the reader in terms of where these characters are in relationship to their environment would have been a smarter move. But again, when you're drawing that well, it's kind of like, screw it,
Yeah. And you look at the rest of the book, and he's not taking shortcuts. I mean, like this panel.
It might have been an action thing. Just don't break up the flow of the action, right? So I'm not going to put any backgrounds in.
Yeah.
He also could have been behind, too, and said, I'm not drawing any backgrounds on this page.
Of course, this page alone stands out to me. This face.
Drop some Zipatone in there.
Yeah, exactly.
You mean, Art, you wouldn't have inked all that by hand?
No.
So here's the fun thing. Because you brought that up, I'll get to it because we're cooking along. Few pages. This whole book, Neil inked it. This was like one of the few issues because he only inked a couple issues. And other than that, it was Dick Giordano and I think Frank McLaughlin. But he inked this first issue too. I love this. This stuck with me as a kid. And still to this day, just a nice movement in that figure and stuff.
And Neil's the only one that can pull this stuff off. Like you see like Neil clones and people that are inspired by Neil and they try to pull these figures off. And this is borderline wonky and strange, like awkward. But the guy is such a great draftsman that he makes it freaking work. But the guys that would clone him later, they just couldn't make it work. So it actually looked awkward and weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Didn't Wrightson inked one of these issues, didn't he?
He sure did.
Yeah, that was a nice looking issue too. Was that 86 or something?
Wrightson.
Yeah.
That's brand new news to me. That's news.
I don't remember the issue number. Oh man, that coloring mistake drives me crazy. Look at that blue right there on his neck. I can see through his neck. I hate stuff like that. But no, so I got this page right here. I just love this page. I love, you know, the movement through it. You start here, you read over to here. The guy kind of compositionally, you kind of curve back around, and at least the way I see it, the arm brings you down to here. Dude grabs a grenade. You feel him ripping the pin out with your left to right eye movement. And then he, you know, Green Lantern in the last panel shoots his beam this way, and you flow with it. So I had this page. I paid Joe Rubenstein to recreate this page for me. He did. It's hanging up on my wall. People see it and they think it's the real page. He did a phenomenal job in art. This Zipatone back here, Joe did by hand.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So he just did a stipple pattern?
Holy crap.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
Did he use like a
I
content
want
brand
to
or
say one
something?
thing that we were talking about earlier, how like you change things for dramatic impact. So that third panel, the lighting all of a sudden changes to make him look more maniacal. You know what I mean? Like where did that lighting come from? Like all of a sudden it just shows up, right?
Yeah.
But it's perfect. It helps sell the emotion, the impact of what's going on.
Right.
He's not a sane man,
Tools
you
of
know,
comics.
obviously by the lighting. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's another
Fraga.
tool of comics, man.
Fraga, it's issue 84
Yes,
that writes and inked.
84.
Yep.
would you
84
like to
Green
see some
Lantern.
pages from it, Dan?
Yes, sir.
Hold on. Because since I'm on this wonderful site that I can do that. I'd feel bad about doing this if it wasn't for the fact I own all these issues. So
That's my same thing, man. I'm like, it's easy access, and I don't have to go fishing through all my boxes.
here you go. This is Bernie, Ink, and Neil.
Oh, wow. How did that happen?
Here's another great panel I'll show. Oh, wait.
You can see the Wrightson in there, you know.
Oh, look at this figure right here. The brushwork and stuff on it.
Yeah. Well, look at these faces on the next page.
Yeah, hold on.
Shadows.
How did this happen? How did this happen? Like how did this come together?
I'm assuming it was just one of those things where Bernie might have been in the right place and the job had to get done. I mean, you got to remember, this was like early 70s.
You can see in that last panel.
This is early 70s before Bernie was Bernie. You know, this is before Swamp Thing.
Yeah,
Bernie
that's
was
true.
Bernie.
No, you're right. But if you remember, those guys used to hang out because remember Wrightson or you know the Batman comic that has the Grim Reaper on the cover, that famous Neil Adams cover.
Oh yeah.
In that issue, he draws Len Wein and Wrightson and somebody else. There are characters in the story, so it's like these guys must have been tight.
They had a thing. I heard because I watched the Jeffrey Jones documentary. They had a thing called First Fridays, where like a bunch of the comic artists. It's kind of like how we have Brofessionals. We do it here and we do it live on YouTube, but they would go meet up at someone's apartment or whatever, and it would be like a gang of them New York cartoonists just hanging out on First Fridays of the month.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wrightson probably said, "Hey, man, I'd like to ink you sometime." You go, "Oh, okay, here, do this issue."
Well, deadlines being what they are, and just the monthly grind, you know, all kinds of stuff happens. Like
it's so funny because they're all young guys, and you know, you just see them like hitting on girls and stuff, and the girls like, "So what do you guys do?" And like, "Well, you know, we make comic books," and they're like, "Yeah, that's okay. See ya."
Exactly.
We'd be like, you know what I mean? And we'd be like all over. We'd be, you know, and like, it was like, yeah.
Oh God,
it's so funny, Billy, that you brought that up. Okay, so you know, I always had roommates, you know, and you know, a lot of my roommates had some skills in that department, the dating department, right? Nice. So I remember my one friend, he's like, whatever you do, don't tell women what you do for a living. and so like I was like always like, okay, I'm not gonna say. I never did, right? And so I started you know, dating Pamela. And so she's like, what do you do? And I go, I do comic books. And she goes, holy crap, they're awesome. I love the Fantastic Four when I was a kid. Ben Grimm is my favorite.
And you're like, winner.
Yeah. So then we went.
At that moment, Art dropped down to one knee and said, will you marry me?
Will you marry me? And but then she threw in, Rick James Super Freak as a song. So we're singing Super Freak while we're walking down the Strand, having a drink. And then the next thing was the Three Stooges. She brings up, I love the Three
Shut
Stooges.
up.
I was like,
Those women
oh
hate
my
the
gosh, the
Three Stooges.
trifecta.
Dude, you should definitely ask her to marry her that night.
Well, you've heard Shelley's story, right? When I told her I was a comic book artist, she was like, she said she thought in her mind, "What are you, 12?"
That's
man.
like Debbie in college. I took Debbie to the Phil Suling show at the Penta Hotel, and we were in college. And she's like, "Oh," I said, "Yeah, I want to make comic books." She's like, "Oh, that's nice, And a Batman movie's coming out right this summer. Yeah, I'm like, "Yeah, And so I took it to the comic to at the Penta Hotel and it was probably a great convention. You know what I mean? I bet you all the greats were there and stuff. And they were actually. I think Simonson was there and stuff. And I was, I was there. Anyway, she was the only girl there. And she had to wear like this stonewashed jeaned outfit, tight with her heels and everything. And then also she starts getting banged around and stuff. And she's getting the stench, it's like, ew. I don't know if I told you guys this. It's like, I'm going to go back to the dorms. Like, no, stay. And I remember walking her out to the elevator and she's like, no, I'm going to go. Like, are you breaking up with me?
that almost.
She goes, no, this is your thing. I'll see you later. I'll see you. No, don't be silly. She kissed me. She walked up saying, no, have fun. And then she left, and she was like, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. She was so revolted by it. And now,
I have to answer this. My whatever's at stake here, my integrity. Art said I draw comics and I'm still a virgin. No, that didn't happen. That's not how it happened.
Art was a rock and roller. Art was a rock and roller before he was a comic book artist.
Yes. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you.
It's true, he was.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it was okay.
Art had the real go-to answer, which is no, I play in a band, and instead he says he draws comics, and it worked out.
Well, that was years later. I couldn't really use that, as a reason. But who's next? Is it Billy?
Is it me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna let me share someone right now.
Billy's got Ronald Reagan or Evil Knievel.
I should post Evil
Here
Knievel.
comes the motorcycle again.
Now it's the motorcycle. Yeah.
I'm working on the next categories, by the way, for the next game show. So
all right.
You got
I don't know. Let me see which one it would be. I got a couple of them open. I'll try this one. But speaking of someone who, that's a good one. Okay, let me go to this. Okay, if you want to share it, Art. A man who's every single panel, no matter how great or how small, looks like a freaking painting.
Yeah.
It looks like the greatest directorial scene in any film.
Look at those horses.
Right, and look at the horses, but the light, the shading, and if you guys follow Forster, just all the tremendous, the angles. I don't know if he's one of the guys that actually, and Sunday strips he was doing. I mean, you look at Dick Tracy; they're all profiles.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And you see his page right next, and same thing with June Tart Mills with Miss Fury. They're all those straight on views. He's playing with angles. He's like Orson Welles.
Yeah.
And of course just the dynamics. And I just I'll stop this one. Let me just.
Well, hold on.
We were
we were talking about coloring, like this. How did they push that castle back like that?
I'll go back to it. I'm sorry. Let me share it again. I'm sorry.
Or is that done in the coloring? Because there is some real dimension in that.
Oh, a lot of it's the line art, man. If you don't have the Hal Foster artist edition of Prince Valiant, that book is gorgeous.
But yeah, look at this. I mean,
and a workout.
It's got like
and a workout.
Parish inspiration to it. Like, right? I mean, did they drop the opacity? Or did he line it in
I think it's just the line art. I mean, look at it. There's really no solid blacks on that castle.
Yeah, it's atmospheric perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, and every
figure. There's no holding line on the clouds. There's something else going on here.
Well, the holding line, if you look at the originals, it's the old school thing like we did in comics before computers with red. And then the printer would
red line.
Oh yeah, it was red line.
Okay.
And very, very Maxfield Parrish like it. You could tell he's a fan of his.
Oh yeah.
But let me go to Let me find that page first. Let me see. So I'm going to delete this page so I can clean up. All right. Let me share another one. And then, of course, one of the greatest panels of all time. And I hope I picked it right. Let's see if I did it right. Yeah, here we go. I mean, here you go. The panel. Okay, Art, you can share it, I think.
Well, I just have to say the crowd is turning on me.
Oh, my God.
That is so wrong.
You found a geek girl, Art. You found a geek girl.
If anybody invented that concept, it was me, damn it.
Well, you can have it.
I was not a player.
Mutiny.
Oh shit! Look at that.
Look at this now, right, guys? Holy shit! Talk about the Simonson thing with the word box. With the caption box that that it goes to with the why is one white, one yellow. Look at this. Look where your eye goes. And then next week the executioner. Just look at him fighting off this horde.
1938.
1938. Shut the.
How crazy is that, man?
Look at that.
You know how Dan, you talk about like really committing to a comic that will stand the test of time. Well, yeah. This definitely is.
I just couldn't imagine
doing
Frazetta.
Frazetta was 10 when this came out.
Yeah.
Well, Frazetta was definitely looking at this stuff, and I'm going to go back to that coloring thing, like. So that fade that looks like just kind of watercolor fading off on those bricks to go into that white narrative. Mm-hmm. That's just, what is that, a red line then? Is that
could, now that I'm not sure. I mean, I've got the book and I know that page is reproduced in the book, but I'd have to dig it out.
This stuff looks watercolor to me, man. It looks really soft. It doesn't look like somebody said, was it Billy, like desaturated or what? Like there's something going on here, man.
Like, are the guys maybe? But because you have to remember, Foster penciled, inked, wrote, lettered, and colored his strips.
It could just be this was still a 4-color printing process back then. So it could just be the percentages, the colors laid on top of everything.
And that one red, look at the one red of his cape.
It's saturated. Yeah.
Come on, man. It's
it's saturated. It stands out, and that's where the blacks really are too. So the character really stands out there.
So downstairs downstairs I have a few comics, like in the foyer or something when people come in, and one's my Christmas book because Debbie likes that, the Child Is Born book, and there's a Maxwell Parrish book, and then this the art the Hal Foster art book from IDW. I think it came out, the big one. It's downstairs.
Yeah.
Look at that. I mean, you got to see those pages. Anyone get this? Anyone who wants to be a storyteller, look at Foster. And just like I said, every single panel looks like an amazing painting. It's just stunning and a privilege to look at and learn.
Yeah.
And I think I've exhausted myself with that.
His line work is just, you look at the black and white in that book, and the line work you just drool over. Some of the exquisite clouds he did too, where he really detailed up the clouds with the feathering and the rendering to show the lighting hitting the clouds. You're just like, oh my God, they're clouds.
I know.
Guy probably spent an entire week just doing the one Sunday strip, right?
Well, he did.
Yeah.
He had a week per strip. So.
Wow. So Dan Fraga, what do you got?
Well, I'm going back to some more Frank Miller influences. None other than I'm going to share the screen. I don't know which one I'm going to pick first. Let's see. Let's just go with a good solid image from the man himself. His name is Goseki Kojima, and he was the artist of Lone Wolf and Cub. This guy's stuff was so good that it didn't matter if you could read Japanese or not. You could tell what was going on.
Yeah.
He was fantastic, big influence on Miller, especially on Ronin.
Yeah. That was Mobius. That was Mobius meets this guy, right?
Correct. Yeah. So if you guys get a chance, I mean, Frank had so much love that the English adaptations got Frank Miller covers on.
Yeah.
I tell you, when I was a kid and Ronin came out, I just didn't get it. I was like, this
man.
isn't
Yeah,
right.
I didn't either. I didn't.
I
get
got it. You know, once I was a working professional after going through the Cuber school and stuff, I was like, this stuff is freaking gorgeous.
It's
But
weird,
as a kid,
right?
I was just like, I don't get it. I like Daredevil.
I had to read the ending again. Like, you know, I'm
Right.
reading it as it's coming out, and then I'm like, did I miss something? And then I reread, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is really good. I like it.
Yeah, sometimes stuff is super deep, but as far as good storytelling is concerned, anytime you can do the silent treatment, you know, John
Yeah.
Byrne did an issue. You know, my last pick did an issue that was all silent. I have a whole book called Les Comics 2000 that was put out in 2000. Of it's a phone book. I'll bring it on one of the shows, but it was every country that participated in creation of it. The only rule was no word balloons. That's when you could tell what's going on, and it elicits an emotional response, and you get a clear sense of what's going on without any words. That's storytelling.
Now,
guys.
now, you know, Larry, we all know Larry Hama did that issue of G.I. Joe that was silent.
Well, that's my last guy, damn it.
No, but wait, did you know that when Image was putting out G.I. Joe, Mike Zeck and John Beatty did a silent issue, and it was issue 21?
I did not know that. That's cool.
It is awesome.
I'm gonna
It's
have to
classic.
check that
They
out.
pulled Zeck in. They got John to ink it. It's
I gotta
Snake
see that.
Eyes. It's Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, completely silent.
Please send me that, because holy crap, man. Holy crap. I love those guys. That's
dude.
lifeblood stuff.
Hold on, I'll find it.
But yeah, if anytime you read old interviews with Frank Miller around this time, like in between Daredevil and Ronin, he just sings the praises of this guy in his work. You know, another guy that's really good, that's also in the manga territory. I don't remember the artist's name, but Bloody Immortal is another really good one that can get by with almost no dialogue or captions.
Yeah.
And that's all I have to say about that.
I have a toy pony. It takes big shits.
Thank you,
Wow.
Billy. Thank you, Billy.
Thank you so much.
What the hell? Why, Billy?
You just want to give
Because
our
it's
time
funny,
back.
that's why.
Oh my god.
That's my super
Harrison loved that. Harrison
Look
loved
at
that.
Batman there laughing his
Look, it says,
butt off like
see,
the
Harrison,
Joker.
I have a
Harrison
toy.
just turned from Batman into the Joker.
So, Harrison, when someone's talking,
Hold on. Here, put the earphone in.
he froze up.
He probably has the earphone in though by now.
Yeah. Okay, Harrison, say that to someone if someone asks you that, or mommy asks you, "How's your day going?" And you just say that. I have a
big
toy-
pony,
I have
or I have
no-
a pony and it takes big
I
shits.
have a toy pony. It takes big shits. It's a haiku.
Dan, I
Love
put
it.
the link in the private chat.
Yeah, I'm
for
looking
that
at it
Zeck
right
issue.
now. Looking at it right now.
Sorry,
Hey
man.
Harrison, did you hear that I said you went from Batman to the Joker just now?
Nah, he didn't hear that.
You didn't hear it?
Sorry, man.
Oh my gosh! So am I up? Is that
You are. You're up.
Yeah, it's
I
you.
lost my train of thought there. Oh my gosh, Billy.
I'm gonna have to end at 10:30 because I have to help my son study for his.
Yeah, I gotta cut too.
Yeah, I
got a
don't
show
have, I
to
don't
be
have
at
anything
tomorrow.
else for another go round.
Yeah, I'm
so.
done.
Yeah,
myself,
we
but we'll
can
do you.
end with this if you guys want. I think I'm last,
Okay.
and
Yeah,
we
go
don't
ahead.
have to do a third.
Cool.
Oh baby.
Yeah, so this is Jim Aparo. I was a lot younger when this came out, and I'll tell you, there are visuals from his run on Adventure Comics that I still remember, like completely remember. And then I swear, when I saw The Crow, everybody's like, "Oh, it's so original." I go, "It's the Spectre, man. It's the Spectre." Because, like the Spectre, at least in this incarnation of him, like whatever the villain was doing, like whatever his MO was, the Spectre would basically flip it on him and then make that guy, the villain, pay the price the same way that the victims of that guy did. And so this one, he turns this guy to wood, And then he turns his back because you see these blades here in the bottom corner. He turns his back and you just hear, and then it's like, he just chops him up. And that guy's like, what are you? Why couldn't you at least have his family something to bear, or leave his family something to bear? And he's like, I'm the Spectre. That's
Nice.
This guy didn't deserve it. Like it was the ultimate, just like when you're just like eye for an eye, right? You always hope that the villain pays the price exactly the way, like they were making people pay. Like
Look
if
how
it's
his
a
head
murderer.
I'm sorry. You're right.
Go ahead.
No, you see how his head, I just noticed his head is even off. Like he sliced him like above the bridge above his nose between his eyes, right? Is that what is happening? Like, see how his head is sliding?
Yeah. It's perfect cropping.
Yeah, look at that. Oh my God.
Yeah, he sawed him up. Yeah. Right across the mouth. Like it's perfect cropping. So you can still read the image. But I just love this stuff. And I couldn't find the page, but there's this page. It's a sequence where Jim Corrigan finally gets his humanity back, right? And so there was the mob that killed him originally.
Spoiler alert!
And so he's back with his lady. They're trying to make life work again. And so he's coming over to her house. I guess they're going to go out to dinner or whatever. This was going to be their big moment. And so there's a knock on the door, or she's coming to. I forget how it was. But there's a door, there's a knock on the door. It's her house. It's a knock on the door. She thinks it's Jim. She opens the door, and Jim is hanging from the door. His lifeless body is hanging from the door. And she's just like, holy shit. Like, so these mafia guys, these mob guys killed him again. And then she's like, oh, holy crap. And it was one of those, like, you didn't see it coming. I didn't look at the comic before I bought it. You know what I mean? So I read it the way you were supposed to. And so when that happened, I was like, oh my gosh. Because I was sucked into the moment, like, oh, this is great. He finally gets his payoff, right? He gets his just desserts. He's going to be human again. And he can have his life back. And it's like, no.
Art, being sucked in by a comic book does not take your virginity. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well,
wait, Dan, couldn't you have super chatted that to me?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, if you're going to insult Art that bad, at least pay for it.
Yeah.
This series.
I have a toy pony. He takes big shits.
This
It's
series.
a haiku. Billy says it's a haiku.
R.T. Bear, the 400-year-old virgin. Sorry.
This series, Art, is like, don't you think that if you're going to do DC should do a Spectre movie based on this series? Don't you think?
I thought as soon as The Crow came out, I was pissed that it wasn't the Spectre.
Yeah, because it's like the ending is so freaking tragic, and you don't see it coming. Like you said, you expect him to get his life back, and he just goes. He can't ever have it back. He's the Spectre, right? And it's just, and plus it's so violent. It's so, this is not like the Spectre coming and punching some guys and taking them to jail, man. He makes them pay.
Yeah, this guy with the gun, that's the guy gets turned into wood.
Oh,
yeah, these aren't necessarily in order, but yeah, oh my gosh. So good.
Well, Jim was definitely hitting on all cylinders.
Yeah, this is his best work right here, I think.
This is his best work, hands down. And also, I like that nobody was spared in this series. Like, this woman comes at him, right? And so he's just like, oh, I'm the Spectre. And then it just goes right through him. And then he just like, oh, it's stuck in the wall. You're a fool. And then he just sends it flying back at her.
It's like, yeah, now you're dead.
Yeah. It's
and
like,
I hate to sound. If you could scroll up a little bit, man. I hate to sound misogynistic or anything, but what a waste of a great piece of ass.
Look at that rat.
He's a Spectre. He can't do anything.
Look at that.
Look at that rack.
And I'm telling you, hey, Neil Adams, this is how you break a panel. This hand right here.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, it leads you right down perfectly to the next. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Look at that! Look at that '70s purse she's got, man, with the little
Tassels.
Yeah, tassels.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at the purse. I'm looking at the other fun bags.
That's right.
And look, he manages to get just enough cleavage in there in that last panel.
Yeah, just enough.
Yeah, this is brilliant. I always thought like Neil was good, but I thought Jim, at least at this moment in his career, was better.
Well,
I like Jim's storytelling.
Good stuff.
Don't you guys think that Aparo had a lot of Neil Adams influence in his work, though?
I thought so.
Oh, yeah, I
didn't
think
know
so.
who inspired who, but
sure.
as a kid,
For
I
sure.
always thought there was more substance to Jim Aparo's work, especially in this series.
Look at those
Like his
hands in that
outsider
first
stuff. He
panel.
started- What's that?
I said, just look at those hands in that first panel. They're gorgeous.
Yep.
Yeah.
Look
And
at
then-
these two hands.
Look at
Yeah,
those two hands.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this guy gets turned in the glass, and then he just knocks him over, so he shatters. Like,
Oh, God.
Look at that.
look, the Swami, he's falling. And then the next panel, he's just shattered on the floor. Oh my gosh, I love this stuff so much.
Don't mess with this. Oh, the guy's hands melted. Oh my gosh, I remember that.
Wasn't he doing something with wax? Like this guy was like his victim. He was like pouring in wax or something. So then the Spectre comes at the climax of the story and just, like this gun isn't going to do nothing. I'm a Spectre. I'm a ghost. And so then, he always has to monologue. And then the guy's like, a machine gun, it's melting like a piece of wax. And it's like, my arms are melting too. And then I would love it because most of these guys would plead for their life at the end.
Yeah.
Please, I didn't mean nothing.
Yeah.
Don't make me melt like this, please.
Brilliant.
Oh my gosh, I love this stuff. And I'll tell you right now, I wish I owned some of these covers.
Oh, I know, these covers are great.
Oh my gosh, look at that. So good. So darn good. So yeah, that's my pick right there. We could just
check
go
that out.
around Robin real quick and say like who our other ones were. Mine was Dave Gibbons, Watchmen. So what was yours, Aaron?
I was going to take a look at a Frazetta EC story. The only one he actually penciled and inked himself.
How about you, Andy?
Joe Kubert's always a given, but I liked Wally Wood's Thunder Agent stuff. That stuff stood out to me. I recall that too in my younger days. I just like the lighting he did. Looking at it now, you can see some of the split lighting that like Nolan does, where he got it from and stuff. So I like Wally Wood.
How about you, Dan?
Larry Hama.
Mm-hmm.
Larry Hama's stuff is always really clean and clear.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily dynamic, but it's very clear.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I have a guess for Billy. I think it's Pee Wee Herman.
No, it was going to be a film reference, so I was going to do Akira Kurosawa.
Oh
yeah, he's up there.
Look at his frames, man. Look at it. Watch how he frames a shot and a scene, and that's what I was going to talk about. Something different that I'm sure inspired a lot of.
Why don't we do another show about filmmakers and their storytelling? Because I wanted to do a thing.
Sounds
on
like
scope.
Dan has the topic for his show.
There you go. We'll do that.
Yeah, let's
All
do
right,
that.
so,
Which I think you're next anyhow, aren't you?
Am
I
I?
think Graham is.
Is Graham next? Or
Oh,
is it
Graham was after me, I thought.
Well, originally Graham was after me, so I do think that things have changed a little bit.
All right,
So
well, we'll figure it out.
We'll
yeah,
figure
it
it out.
doesn't matter. So Aaron, do you have your Wraith of God there so we can show the people this amazing campaign?
Actually, I do, believe it or not.
I don't believe it.
Actually, I love that show. Okay,
So do I.
sorry, but I loved that show.
That was a great show.
I hung out with him.
Superhero
At
that wore a
very-
skirt.
I hung out with him at a fantastic comic book convention
In a
in
minute.
Cape Girardeau, Missouri. And
Which
we were like the
one?
only guests. And there was a few, maybe a few, but we palled around all weekend. He was awesome, William Cat.
There you go.
I'm walking on air.
So yeah, looks like I have 10 days left. I'm at 96,157. Guys, help push me to 100,000. That's just $4,000 away. And look, I put something new up here. I colored the trading card that everybody gets this trading card as a stretch goal, and I just
It's gorgeous.
Beautiful.
I think I got that same pistol. Hang on a second.
Do you? Someone told me that you have a bunch of like recreations. What do you call them?
Replicas.
Replicas. Thank you.
Yeah, you're
Where
right.
do you really show this off?
They're all replicas. Yeah.
Where do you get them?
Just Google it.
The
Good
replica
man.
store. You got to buy a
Put
replica.
this in the trash, bud.
You can
Say-
find them online.
Thanks.
I have all replicas. I have no real ones. All replicas.
Okay, I want to get some of those because
Of course, they're not real.
well, the real ones are too freaking expensive. I was going to go to a gun show and pick up one of these Colts. They're like $4,000, $4 or
Jesus
$5
Christ.
grand.
You can buy the
Yeah.
Italian ones, the Italian versions of it. Like, not like this if this was real, but you can get one like that. Now you can go on eBay and just do or go on eBay and because a lot of reenactors get these guns and things like that.
Yeah.
So if you go on eBay, but I'm sure if you Google it too, buy prop guns. And you
Just
can-
have
Billy,
the,
show the gun again. People want to see the gun again.
this one.
Yeah. Billy just pulled it right out of his pants there.
No, I got a little cowboy holster here. See?
no, if you did that, it'd be a Derringer.
Yeah, so it's nice.
Well, that's plastic. Is that what that is?
Yes, it's plastic.
Okay, I gotta get.
Aaron, you got to have the Wraith just carry an Uzi.
You can buy airsoft ones too. I got a let me see if I got this one's really cool. It's under here. Hang on. Here's my Robocop one that my son keeps taking. Well, what the hell it is? Oh well. But I got this.
I was hoping to get a glimpse. The chat was hoping to get a glimpse of Billy's butt as he bends over.
Mhm.
Plumber's
I got
craft.
this Thompson. See, this is an airsoft Thompson airsoft.
Oh, nice.
Isn't that cool? It's battery operated, and it shoots like 320 of the pebbles a minute, so you can take out.
Well, now we know how he takes care of the squirrels in his yard.
Yeah.
Damn.
But it's cool. I mean, it's the exact size, and they're great for reference and everything like that.
Right.
He,
Yeah.
he sits on the front porch with that bad boy. He's like, get off my lawn now.
Yeah, and a glass of scotch.
Well, Billy, it's all tax deductible. Oh, look,
Well,
wait,
it is. It's
hold
all
on,
tax deductible.
hold on. Here we
This is
go.
this is what the Wraith
Wow.
really needs to be packing.
There you go, buddy.
That's a Snake Eyes gun.
You got the hold on. I know this stupid thing pulls out. There it is.
That's a replica, yeah?
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool.
I've
hope
had this
it's
thing for
swinging it around.
20 some years. So
That's a Snake Eyes gun,
yeah,
man.
Google prop guns for sale. It's a
Or
cool
a 40.
Shadow 45. There's a 45 he's got. See,
Okay.
it's a government model. That's a BB gun, though, ain't it?
yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
It's getting dangerous in here.
That's right.
Harrison likes all the firearms.
No, it's a replica gun. So.
Hey, so
They're all-
Wraith of God. So,
There it is.
Come on, let's get to six figures. Six figures, young lady.
6 figures, young lady.
Yes.
we're 10 days out, and we just got a new color piece from Aaron Lepresti. This thing looks fantastic. So, is there anything else you want to add?
No, that's just the new piece of art. I've got a new page going to be posting probably tomorrow, at least the pencils for it. So
Gorgeous.
Okay, you guys.
fresh.
Yeah, the link is in the description as well. So click on that link and go back Aaron Lepresti's Wraith of God today, right now. Do it
Yes.
right now.
Right now. Don't
And
delay.
then how about these four guys? You have something for us, Andy?
There you go.
Where is it? Oh, there it is. All right.
Creeping up to 35. Got a couple
Well, it's
more back
wet.
going on. I got the T-shirts added. So you get a snazzy T-shirt so they can see your first maniac coming and a penumbra walking away. It does say penumbra, though, but they'll know. It's like that meme with that chick with the guy looking over his shoulder at the person walking away, and the girl's like, "What?"
Mhm.
That's the looks you'll get.
That's
Penumbra sounds like a name of like from a song from like the MTV era, like Penumbra.
It could be. It could be.
Oh, like Bobby Brown singing My Prerogative, but he was singing My Prerogative. He didn't know how it was. He didn't know. He thought
That's
it was
right.
Prerogative.
My penumbra.
My Penumbra.
Exactly.
My Penumbra.
So yeah, so I've added a couple sketch covers. I got the hold on. Oh, scroll. I got the old Christopher Reeve-esque Superman fighting Lou Ferrigno-esque Hulk.
We don't
there.
like Lou Ferrigno here on this channel.
Yeah, Lou
That was I know. In fact, when I was doing this on my live stream, it was supposed to be Doomsday, and then in the live stream they were like, "No, make it the Lou Ferrigno type Hulk," and I'm like, "Okay." And then somebody brought you up about it, saying Art would love that. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm sure he would."
Oh, look at that.
I'm with
Wow.
sauce there.
Oh, look
White
at that.
Queen.
Sauce.
Get the old White Queen, amazing X-Men sketch cover. I did that on my live stream as well. I've got the parody ad original art up, 14 by 21. I decided to draw it old school huge.
Nice.
Beautiful.
So
is that the pie ad?
That's the pie ad original art. So
Tasty.
I don't usually sell my originals, but if somebody
Wait, you got to focus on that second to last panel, like she's showing her pie.
Oh,
she is.
oh,
He's looking right at him.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is. And then
he's a hostess ho-ho.
He is. And
She's
then the
a
stretch
hostess
goals.
ho-ho. I should actually super chat myself with that joke.
You should. The next stretch goal will be the die cut sticker or first man, so you can show your first man love all over the place.
Nice.
Ooh, that sounds gross.
Man love.
I assume the link is in the description below. So.
Yes, it is in the description. Go back it today.
So there you go.
Back it, tap it, and flip it around.
Oh
Back
no!
it, tap it, flip it around. So there you go.
I don't like that.
All right, Art, can I go so I can help my son? He's got to study and.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so She Omnibus Edition, Volume Number 1, Indiegogo exclusive. We're now over $158,000 on Indiegogo. We get to 160. This book will be 492 pages, not 480.
Yeah.
And an extra 8 pages. And here's the truth that I'd only say on the Brofessionals. It's going to press like Monday. It's going to the printers on Monday for prepping, proofing, and then eventually printing. So it's going to be 100. It's going to be 492 pages anyway. But my stretch goal.
There you go.
We can get to 160.
Massive.
We're going to expand it to 492 pages because I'm just finding all this cool stuff, man. All these cool old panels, the pages. Scan this. You want to talk old school Art T-Bear?
Yeah, Billy's got a history.
Yeah, here's a page with the acetate overlay with the letter with the word balloons.
Oh yeah.
So I found that, scan that. I'm like, I got to show the anatomy of a it's called How She Happened, old school. So this is a double page spread.
Love it.
I found all my roughs. I found my roughs to this. You know what I mean? And I found the pencil scans.
Wow.
And the colors, so I'm like, I'm gonna add that. Let me throw
H&R Ruffin stuff.
H&R Ruffin stuff. Wow. So
in the house.
But that's that. So, but I told him I'd give him to 10:30, and because Debbie's at my wife is hanging out with her college roommate up in Massachusetts. She needs a nice break, so she.
There you go.
It's 10:30, man.
Weird thing is, her college roommate, he's a real handsome guy. He's like 6'3".
Wait, she had a guy as a college roommate?
No. Okay, no.
I was like, what the hell?
No, is that a little weird? It's like, I'm gonna go stay with Ricky. He calls him Ricky. For a few. Anyway, sorry. Yeah. I know I'm gonna come downstairs. He's gonna be in the middle of playing Call of Duty or something like that. So I got to stop. I'm like, we got to study for an hour, and then he can go to bed. So I told him he can stay up late because mommy's not around.
Good dad.
No worries,
All right, guys,
brother.
listen, love you guys. So excited.
Love
Too,
that.
man.
And
What's up,
good luck
brother?
on all your campaigns. Back these guys, man. They are the professionals. They're badass. And I have a toy pony, and it takes big shits.
Amen.
There you go. See you later.
See ya.
See you, Billy.
Bye.
You know what? Billy puts his money where his mouth is, for sure. I have to read this though. It's like don't mention Lou in Art's presence.
I know.
We won't.
It's
And
Sorry
Dan,
about
I
that.
did see that spread. I misunderstood when you said it was a 2-page spread because of how I didn't realize it was a flipped.
Yeah.
I thought there was a
good.
left half that you were doing. That's all.
No.
So yeah, no, I
no.
saw that. That thing is awesome. I can't.
Thanks, man.
I
This
mean,
is it. This
It's
is
more
it.
awesome now that I know that's the freaking 2-page spread. Holy crap!
Wow.
That is gorgeous.
I feel sorry for the inker.
Oh, come on. I had to imagine it and draw it.
Exactly. All he has to do is trace it.
Yeah.
Watch your mouth.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
man.
Double pager from Black Flag, putting in this kind of work on every single page, trying to do some fun storytelling. No,
If I got this as the inker, I think what would Vinny do? As in Vinny Coletta. Vinny Coletta would go, that silly Dan Franken didn't draw any clouds over the city. I'll take care of that.
Put in some mist.
Nice fluffy clouds.
No, he wouldn't.
No,
Yeah.
he would just
He would
erase
add
the city.
nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
He would probably
Oh.
subtract and add.
So Artie Bear, let's see yours. Show me yours,
Yes.
bro.
Sorry, Dan. You were kind of roboting out. So everybody go
It's okay.
back. Black Flag. The link is in the description, and it's a great book. And Dan is killing it on that project. So
Art, you know what you have
Thank
to
you,
show
guys.
off on your campaign.
here it comes.
I
Hey,
think
yo.
we're thinking the same
Hey,
thing.
Joe.
All right. So this is a black and white volume 2 Man versus Machine in a world when law and order is often blurred to gray. Justice can only be ... black and white. We're 2 days out from the first 30. We are going to bring it back for another 30, but we're going to treat the second 30 kind of like we're starting the campaign over again. So some of the early exclusives that we had, we're going to bring those back. We're bringing back the 72-hour line art variant, which you guys have been clamoring about. So that is on its way back. And that will probably go up Sunday. I think Saturday will be the last day for the first 30. So it'll probably be sometime Sunday that you'll see all that stuff go up. And so there's going to be a lot of exclusives. So you guys get in early, and I'll be tweeting out. I'll be letting you know, on all my social media and on Facebook when this stuff's going up, because I want to give each one of you, a shot at getting it before getting these exclusives before they sell out. Yes. So here it is. They're back, badder than ever. This is black and white. And we just got an amazing new tier here. We got the incredible Joe Bennett. These are his pencils. And so there's been a little bit of controversy. The comics industry being what it is now, they're going after another one of us, and they're trying to cancel this brilliant comic book artist that's been doing this for probably 3 decades.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm going to be inking it. I did a live stream where I started to ink this earlier today. And
I missed that.
Yeah, I'm going to be bringing this sucker together. And I posted this in the CG green room. And then Kyle Ritter just like, I got to color this thing. So he just threw it out there.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, so Kyle's going to come in and color the hell out of this thing. And we're going to make an amazing variant cover out of this image. And so you guys are already showing it some love. So keep showing love. Let Joe Bennett know that even though the mainstream, had power over him, here at CG, we do not. They do not, I should say. So support this. show Joe some love. And I do believe, I think it was mentioned today that Joe is going to be working with Chuck Dixon. So Joe is going.
Chuck announced that yesterday, I think.
Oh, was it?
I think Chuck announced it yesterday or the day before on Facebook.
Okay. Yeah. So Joe is coming. I'm not saying he's CG. I'm not sure really where he's at as far as that is concerned, but he is definitely going independent. And Chuck Dixon's a good guy, and he's definitely CG friendly, I guess is the way to talk about it. So the Joe Bennett stuff is here now. We have the Inco T, which was just added a few days ago. And just remember, you guys, every one of these books you can get as an add-on. You can get the Inco T-shirt as an add-on. You can get the layouts, the original story layouts, my thumbnails, which are down here. You can get those as add-ons. The only thing you can't get as an add-on are the gray Capullo variants, just because they're very, very limited. And the only place you can get those right now is in the black and white jam. And that will give you each one of the books, plus a trading card, plus the mini print. And all the tiers that have 3 books or more come with that trading card as well. So please, you guys, come over. The link is in the description as well. Back black and white. We are so darn close to that 57K mark, and I would really like to, by the end of this, get to that 60K, man. And I can't do it without you. So please get out, tweet it out, share on your social media. Back if you haven't. This book is going to be killer. It is going to be the work of a lifetime. And between John Malin, Dan Frega, all you guys just inspiring the hell out of me. I'm stepping it up. I'm stepping it up, baby. This is gonna be good.
It's good looking stuff, Arthur.
Well, thank you so very much. So are we done here?
We're done.
I think so.
All right, man.
Another great Brofessionals.
Yes. So thanks to everybody in the chat for supporting the bros here. Thanks for supporting all of our Indiegogos. And we will see you next week. I guess we're going to arm wrestle. Who's gonna host it? I guess Dan Frega is going.
Dan and Graham have to fight it out.
Yeah, epic.
If Graham wants it, he can have it, or if he wants me to do it, I'll do it.
I was really looking forward to the Indian leg wrestle between you guys. Where you lay on the floor and your legs intertwine.
Oh yeah. I haven't done that since I was a kid, though, Andy.
Admiral Wackass, I think I sent
it.
Admiral Wackass, I think I sent it right. Mischievous Memorandums, I think I sent it right. So,
okay, all right, and thanks to Billy Tucci for the super chat. Much appreciated. And somebody's going to be hosting this next week. So also, you guys subscribe. All of us have YouTube channels. Yep. Go subscribe. We all do great stuff live. It's live, you guys. We're like flying without a net here. So come check us out. We'll probably say something stupid live because we're
like SNL but better.
Yeah. This is CG live, baby.
That's right.
All right, man. Everybody have a wonderful evening. Take care.